Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, Dustin Fox, Jason Lloyd, Tyvis Powell, plus, ba-da-da-da-da, you're loving him, Mikey McNuggets. And so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show starts now. Booyah!
Hey, here we are. I know it's hard to be excited today after what took place this weekend, but I'm excited to be here.
I'm officially Jason.
Dead inside?
Dead inside.
Come on in.
Got nothing left,
Come
brother.
on in. The water's warm.
Is there room on the funeral procession?
I cried it out, bro. I know this is a bad
I got nothing.
Hey, Ohio State was on
got
a bye. They lost to Oregon. The Guardians. Oh gosh, we can't even think about this. The Guardians, out of all people, that seemed years ago compared. Didn't the team they lost last three? Now we got this and funeral processions for a lot of stuff.
I'm going to spin it positive.
I'll bring baked beans to the
I mean, as the one who is known as being the most positive person on this panel, I'm going to spin everything positive. First of all, I know it ends in disappointment, but the Guardians had a fantastic season.
No doubt.
They had a great season.
It still didn't end the way we wanted.
Of course it didn't end. Of course it ends in disappointment.
Yeah.
But this season, first of all, we had no expectations for this team. None. Nobody thought they would really be a playoff team, let alone get to the AL Championship Series. They didn't play well enough in the AL Championship Series.
I give the Yankees credit.
They're the better team.
The Yankees.
They are, but not by that much.
Totally agree.
They were in the series.
Close. It is close.
They were much better in the series. Overall, they're not that much better.
They played 11 times this year. They won 8.
Yeah.
You know what, though? They're the better team, and that's okay.
That's fine.
They spent, for every $1 the Guardians spend, they spend 3.
You know what?
So
I don't even care about that, though.
I do. It's a big part of it.
In a way, it gives a pass to ownership for the shitty. I don't blame the Yankees for that. That's on the Guardians.
I think it puts the onus on ownership. You're not doing enough.
Yeah.
Your players
are spend more money.
Your players are doing all they can.
They maxed out.
For the most part. Your management has absolutely overachieved. There's one wildly underachiever in that triumvirate, and it's ownership.
Yeah.
And that's not even debatable.
But look at it, if you look at the roster, and there's things they got to do this offseason, which they'll hopefully do. And
it's in good shape, though.
But who overachieved this season for the Guardians is an individual player. Now, you can argue some of the relievers, but they're all rookies, so I don't know what their careers are going to be.
David Fry overachieved.
I don't think so. Not when you look at the whole season.
I think he overachieved.
I don't agree with that.
If I would have shown you his end-of-the-year numbers in spring training, you would have been like, what?
But they weren't crazy. Look at he ended up with 14 home runs.
You won't know if you overachieve this year for another year or two.
See if you can do it again.
Yeah,
but it came from where it came from is how you just...
totally unexpected, but
that's
first time
But his whole season wasn't a magnificent season.
Well, no.
But he had a great postseason and a great first half. And I didn't have him in for that, Bull. I didn't have him as a starter.
But I just don't think, none of the pitchers overachieved in the starting rotation. They all underachieved.
Well, Ben Lively overachieved.
Yeah, okay, fine, that's fair. But everybody else that you had expectations for underachieved.
I think there may be bullpen pitchers that overachieved.
That may be. I said that, but they're rookies.
Cade Smith doing this?
No, but they're rookies.
Right, but
we don't know if it's an overachievement.
We don't, but what to me, an overachievement outreaches your expectation.
That's fair, but...
And I didn't expect that from Cade Smith.
Sure, but 3 years from now, we may say, Cade Smith didn't overachieve. That's just who he is.
Yeah.
We don't know.
You're absolutely right.
I'm saying that I'm just saying that there are areas to improve internally, but certainly there have to be areas externally.
And believe me, when I bring up the salary cap, or the payroll, I am not giving up. I'm shining the light directly on the ownership.
Has to be
directly.
And they don't need to have a $300 million payroll.
Don't.
But they need to have a $150 million payroll, and that's not unreasonable.
And we all agreed on this. They needed to have this, and they didn't. Your stars got to be stars.
Yeah, they weren't.
And they were not.
That's right.
They were collectively
abysmal. And it's going to be fascinating next year for both Clase and especially Ramirez.
How do they bounce back?
But not only that, but you're going to look at them differently in the regular season next year, both of them. And for Jose, that's never happened before. We've never really held the postseason, because he hasn't played great in the postseason before. We've never held it against him in season. And I think the reason why people will now is because it's juxtaposed against what the Yankee stars did.
Absolutely.
And their stars. We always thought our star was as good as the other stars.
No.
But he just doesn't get enough credit.
Stanton, Soto, Judge, every time.
Didn't they hit 10 home runs between them in the series?
Every
Nine,
single time
okay.
you thought the
In
Guardians
5
was in
games.
it,
Yeah.
guess what they do? They
That's
come
right.
up 2-run home run,
Yeah.
3-run home run.
And
Giancarlo-
all their runs came from home runs.
Stanton
Yeah.
has 8 hits against the Guardians in the playoffs.
All were
All
home
8
runs.
home runs.
That's insane.
That's totally
You know what it
insane.
does? It really
Yeah.
shines the spotlight on the recent shift in baseball and the all or nothing. And I know that it drives fans nuts with all the strikeouts, but it works in the playoffs. The team that hits the most home runs wins the series.
Yeah.
Go back and look.
Yeah.
It's just the way baseball goes.
I
And
thought,
here's
I thought their bullpen was a lot better than advertised too. The Yankees. I thought they
it
played
was, but I
well.
don't think it's great. I think the Dodgers have the edge there, but we'll see. But and the good news for the Browns is they have the first pick in the draft right now.
Right now, and I can't see
I
that
don't
changing.
see that changing.
I can't see that
I was
changing.
talking to G before the show.
Yeah.
Where's their next win?
I looked. I don't see it. I don't see where
I,
they're going to
I
run
don't
into
think.
one.
I don't think they're
By
going
the
to
time
win
they play
one game.
Miami, I mean they'll win because
Right.
it's just the
Maybe they
NFL.
steal the Chargers at home.
Hey, the defense played well yesterday.
You're looking at a 3-14.
Yes.
That's
they're going to win 3-4
that's what we're in
games,
for.
but yeah, by the time they play Miami, Tua will be back probably.
We
Most
talked
likely,
about that too.
Most likely.
Yeah. The defense did play well yesterday.
Shotgun reactions
Yeah.
on. I mean, we kind of gave the Guardians.
Give the Guardians.
Talked a
Give
little bit about
me
the
a
Browns.
minute each on the Browns, and we'll dive.
We want to
into
do a minute each
specifics.
on the Browns. Bull, what do you
Yeah,
got?
I mean, listen, we'll get into the whole what happened after Watson got hurt situation. Obviously, that's going to be an emotional discussion. There's a lot of nuance to it, which we'll try to hit, and most people will ignore the nuance, unfortunately. In terms of the game itself, I think the positive was the defense to me. It's like all they needed was the Bengals there for the defense to play like the defense again. I thought Joe Burrow was one of the worst games I've seen him play. They just couldn't do anything on third down. I thought the Browns' defense played very well. The offense is awful. I mean, what can you say? When Watson played, his completion percentage was good, but he missed so many throws, as they pointed out on the broadcast. DTR was terrible. I'm not going to kill him. He got thrown into a game. He didn't even know he was going to be the backup on Friday, which is, I don't know why that's a trade secret within the organization. But the special teams and the offense are a disgrace right now. Again, I thought the defense, considering who they were playing and what they had on offense and special teams, I thought the defense played great. But
They get a passing grade. They're the only unit that does.
Yeah, I thought you're considering that special teams and offense is killing you, and the Bengals have a really good offense against everybody else except for you. So I thought that was impressive the way the defense played, but it's hard to get too excited about this team. They're a very bad football team right now overall.
This is a broken and fractured fan base, and it has been really since Baker.
Yep.
And I don't know how you like this fan base needs like a cleansing or a come together, come to Jesus type of moment here. And maybe they'll get that now. I think Deshaun's played his last snap. I know we're going to get to that as a topic later. I'll give away the ending. I think that's the last time you'll see him on the field. And given the reaction when he was on the field, if you're him, I don't know how you'd want to come back. So I think it's a multi-layered conversation as to why that's it for him here. And now they got to figure out what comes next. And that's not easy. Like, this is going to be ugly. It's messy and it's ugly and it hurts because of the cap hits that are coming. And you got to find a quarterback now. And what do you do with some of these other veterans? It's a mess. Like, this is a worst case scenario. And I wrote when they acquired him, this is either going to cleanse the Haslams of 10 years of just awful ownership, or it's going to be the tombstone in their legacy. And it's the tombstone. So now you have to deal with the fallout of that. And I just feel sick over like, fan bases aren't supposed to turn on each other. You're supposed to be able to come together on Sundays and enjoy the product in front of you. And that hasn't been the case here for years. And I would just like to see, for the fans' sake, to get back to the point of being able to be one voice in a city, in an NFL city with an NFL team.
You know, I'm not a source guy, but it's so weird. I a lot of players reached out and gave me why they reacted so harshly to what happened, and we'll get into it. I think that there's a nuance, kind of conversation about the booing and different things like this, but a lot of them are saying this is not the first time this has happened. And so there's a couple of items that we'll give out. I think the bigger overarching picture to this is this. I told people before, hey, you can want Deshaun Watson out of the game, but let me just tell you, there's consequences that come with that. If it don't work, you're staring at a rebuild. And the part that I'm looking at today is now there is that chess piece is off the board. So, before we talked about Deshaun Watson, that was the reason the offense was struggling. People said that they didn't want to play with him, different things. That chess piece is over. That's gone. So now there is no Odell Beckham. There is no Van Pelt. There is no Baker to say he wasn't playing. There is no, Amari Cooper. We can't say he's dropping the ball. Now you lose the last chess piece, and now this is squarely in the crosshairs, your leadership. Kevin Stefanski, Andrew Berry, Dee Podesta, Jimmy Haslam. It's right on you. Now you got to play 10 whole games without nobody being the scapegoat. You can't do it. So now you can't hide behind the quarterback play. Because now, guess what? You got two quarterbacks. You traded for, or you went out and got free agency Jameis Winston, and you traded for DTR. So those are your head picks.
Signed DTR.
They drafted DTR. Those are your guys. There's no reason Kevin Stefanski can't go back to his old playbook, right? Deshaun Watson's not out there. We were doing this stuff
He
because
did yesterday.
He did.
So now we can go back to the offense. Now we're going to get a chance to see. We're going to have a chance to see which veterans are going to play hard, what the coach is going to talk about, and he's going to have his toughest coaching job of his life, because now you're going to really have to get guys motivated and back on track. Because let me tell you right now, the locker room is wavering. I'm telling you, hey, people don't reach out to G. Bush. But I say, bro, who is this in my inbox? The locker room is wavering. And some of the stuff is with the booing and all that good stuff. That's just an added bonus on top of that. That's just a reason for some people to go ahead and check out, to be honest with you. So they're gonna have an uphill battle when it comes to this, and it's gonna be a long season. I'm interested in seeing how he keeps his team together, but we got some problems, Houston.
I think the biggest problem with what happened yesterday is it makes the rest of the season meaningless. You have to make some decisions as an organization, and I don't know that we're going to be able to fairly judge anyone in these last 10 games because there's nothing to play for. It's it. It's over. Done. The offense will automatically look better. I can tell you that right now. It hit me yesterday. I said this last week, but it solidified my opinion on this. Deshaun Watson is afraid of throwing interceptions. That's it. So he's only going to throw a pass that he knows he can complete. Look at his completion percentage. The last two games, the last really full game, the first half yesterday, the last half of last week, he just decided, if I don't throw interceptions, they can't kill me for that. So he's only throwing the ball when he knows for sure he's going to complete the pass.
3rd and 16, check down at the line of scrimmage.
What is that? That gives your team a 0% chance of success. That's why the third down rate is so poor. Defenses are giving him those throws. Take them. You're behind the sticks. You're off schedule. You've got everything from line of scrimmage to 8 yards out. That's what he's completing. He's not completing anything downfield. And to me, it doesn't look like an arm issue. I've watched him throw a deep ball. He doesn't throw it accurately, but he throws it. It's getting there. So for me, I think he had made the very conscious decision, I cannot throw interceptions. I cannot. And that's how he was taking the field. And that put our offense at an incredible disadvantage. To your point, 3rd and 16, you're throwing checkdowns. 4th and goal, you're taking the sack. He knows that a sack isn't quite as bad as a pick, even though it's the same outcome. You don't score, you lose the game. He's made that decision a number of times. I'll take the sack. That way, it might be the offensive line's fault. Not my fault. I didn't have an open receiver. When the tape shows us otherwise, guys crisscrossing all over, they're open. But in his mind, he's seeing ghosts, and that's a very, very bad place for a quarterback to be. I think whoever it is, whether it's Jameis or DTR, we're going to see the offense move the ball. We're also going to see what we saw yesterday from both of them, mistakes. They're going to throw interceptions. But you can't be afraid to throw an interception in this league. You cannot. You've got to rely on the fact that you're an NFL quarterback and that you can complete most of your throws. So that being said, I don't know what we're going to get from here moving forward out of the football team. I'm really glad you threw in the fractured fan base. I got text yesterday from fans that are friends of mine, of not the Browns. And what happened was with the booing, and we're going to get to that, and it was unfortunate, but it's putting I got a number of them saying, wow, I know you're not that way. Are your people that way? People that never lived in the Midwest, because the idea is that it's Midwest nice. And no, I don't think that's who we are collectively. There are always going to be some that do it, whatever, and we have to answer for all of that. But this fan base, going back to Baker, is divided. And I've never seen a fan base like this, either in baseball, football, or basketball, where I can throw out an issue. Stefanski, look at the split.
It's like politics.
It's just like politics. You got 50% dug in here and 50% dug in here, and you do not move the ball forward when you're taking a rope and you're pulling it both ways.
And I always compare it to politics. They say, shut up, G. Bush, don't you do that.
No. What we try to do on this show is not talk politics.
Well, I think
you can absolutely compare what's going on with this fan base. And it's not a political thing, but you look at the issues that have divided this fan base, and one of the reasons why social media is so toxic for athletes in this market is because the fan base is so vocal and so divided. I think a buddy of mine said, how do you fix this? He was the same friend who said, clearly broken from the top down. I've always said that the Cleveland Browns are like a garden, and the soil is toxic. And you can put good seeds in that soil, and some of them will germinate for a while because they're good seeds. But ultimately, the poison in the soil will kill the plant. And we've seen it with Stefanski. We've seen it with a number of players. Yesterday was like, oh, look what this former Brown did today. What did Kareem Hunt do? What did Amari Cooper do? This soil is toxic. It is poison from the top down. What brings us together? Only one thing, and it will never happen.
Winning.
No.
Sell
Jimmy Haslam selling the team.
yeah.
Well, winning.
Well,
you can't win with toxic soil.
He's toxic, and yes, the reason it's like politics, and this has been a trend in the last, decade, 8 years or whatever, it's the loss of civility.
Yes.
There used to be a level of civility in politics.
If you don't agree with me, you're stupid.
And now it's turned into name calling, which we all do. Certainly I do it sometimes. And there's a complete loss of civility, and it's gone from politics to sports. We just name call, we make fun of people instead of having a smart debate.
We had a great conversation 5 minutes before the show before you walked in about all of this stuff.
Yeah.
It was just fascinating.
And we're going to get into bits and pieces throughout the show as we break down what happened on the field, what happened off the field, what happened in the locker room after the game, and some Guardians. But first, a quick word from FanDuel. Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out all the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets, guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's at FanDuel.com/UCSS. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. We will address the cheers/boos after the injury in a second, but I want to start with the injury itself. According to reports, Deshaun Watson has torn his Achilles. That is now confirmed by Adam Schefter, Ian Rappaport, Mary Kay Cabot. He will miss the rest of the season. We'll find out when he'll be back, potentially next season or after. But Jason, in your intro, you said you believe he has played his last snap as a member of the Cleveland Browns. I know you wrote a column on it last night. Is that the last we've ever seen of Deshaun Watson here in Cleveland?
Yeah. Why do you feel that way? Is it beyond the obvious reasons?
It's a year recovery. Yeah. So now you're into next year, and
you're halfway through next year.
You're halfway through next year, and has he shown any sign, any semblance of a franchise quarterback to this point? No. Has he shown the ability to stay healthy? No.
But even with those, the reason and I hope you're right that he's played his last snap for the Browns, but Jimmy Haslam or Kevin Stefanski have shown no signs that they're willing to move on.
That was before this.
This is a career-altering injury. You have no idea.
Well, Aaron Rodgers came. I mean, he was ready to
and
go.
what does he look like this year?
He's been up and down.
He's 42, so he's older. He's 10 years older. But yes, he's had moments, but primarily you are what your record says you are.
He's had now 2 career-altering injuries. The shoulder, we have no evidence of anyone trying to come back from the shoulder that he came back from last year to this year, and he hasn't been good. And now you added blown Achilles on top of it, and the fact, okay, so he's not back until the middle of next year, middle to end of next year, probably more than likely.
Right.
And then he's only got 1 year left on the deal after that. So what are you doing?
Can I ask you a question that I honestly don't know the answer to, and I'm curious about this because I know each team does it differently, and I'm wondering if you poked around. There are teams that take insurance policies.
Yeah, the Browns did do that on
They
him.
did.
Yeah, here's my question. They may have screwed themselves when they restructured his contract. The way I would look at that, if I'm the insurer, I would say, well, what is he on the hook for this season? And it's only $2 million.
Well, no, it's because they still paid him. That's the cap number,
Yeah,
but they
that's not the
converted
real
it into
number.
signing
No,
bonus,
but-
so he still got all that
Well,
money.
here's what I wonder, and I wonder this because I reached out to somebody else that has knowledge of these issues, and he said the same thing. You bring up a good point. I don't know. I'm going to look into it.
Yeah.
Here's my point. If a bonus is it's off the books money. Let's call it that. I mean, it's really not, but it is. That's paid. That's delivered. If I'm the insurance company, I'm looking at what are you on the hook for this year while he's out.
Yeah.
And I don't know the answer to that. I know there's two ways of thinking of it. You could look at it and say, well, they're on the hook for the bonus too. I don't know that they are. That money has been paid.
Well, it's the future money.
Yeah.
Jimmy's got the money.
No. The reason I asked that is because I think that in the question of has he played his last down here, the answer might be in that. Because if the insurance company does cover that, then Jimmy is more likely to say, I got to be done with this. I dodged a bullet.
It's more the cap number, and I don't know under like catastrophe if you get.
Well, I
cap
know that
relief.
doesn't
The
change.
caps are getting Mike sent me an article. The cap they're
Caitlin
getting
wrote the
$7 million of cap relief apparently.
Well, $7 million is not.
Yeah, but that's
no, I
nothing.
know. But anyway, but why? But you think?
I think he's done.
Okay.
And
I do too, by the way.
all right, I already said it's a career-altering injury. He's not back till the middle of next year. You only have a year left after that. What are you going to do for a quarterback between now? You have to look. You're going to be in position to draft a franchise quarterback if that's the route you choose to go, and put yourself in Deshaun's shoes.
Why would he want to come back?
We'll pick up from right there, Jason. We'll pick up from right there.
Why would he want to come back?
I know unequivocally 1,000% is his last down, period, point blank. I know. Because all those things are very valid, and the Browns will use whatever mechanism they can to get the relief. They got the money, that'll be fine. But you got to understand it from Deshaun Watson's standpoint. It was hard for me because I've been on the field injured and the thoughts that go through your mind. And at that moment, when that cart came out and people was cheering,
That's it.
and he broke down
That's it.
on that cart,
You're right.
the man's best friend, one of his friends died this year. The man's father died this year. He's going through allegations. He knows his career is probably over. And at that moment, he's sitting on the cart at the lowest part of his life. And the people that he's playing for cheered. And it don't matter if it's 10 or 15. To him, them was the loudest voices in the world. To him, he's saying, y'all never wanted me here. Y'all don't care about me as an individual. He's never coming back here. And the reason that resonates so much with a lot of other people and the way people reacted is because a lot of people, a lot of his teammates knew he's not going to play anymore. He's done. And he's probably never going to get another opportunity to play football. And he's on that cart. And at that lowest point of his life, he hears people cheering. Celebrating.
Yeah.
And so, no, he's never going to come back here. Like, it's the same way with Baker. Baker, when
I don't think it's just here. I think it's anywhere.
Yeah.
I think he's played his last down in the NFL.
So when he heard that, like with Baker, remember when I mean, they cheered when Baker went down. Like, he wrote that letter, and when they found out they was going to get other people, he wrote the letter and said, I'm never coming back. Remember people say, maybe Baker could be a backup here. Maybe he could stay with this.
That was never gonna
that was never. For that person, that quarterback, you embody everything that the city is. And you only got this much leeway when it's thin line between love and hate. And at that point, it was just done. Like, financially, spiritually, emotionally, the experiment is over. It ended with him on that cart going into the locker room.
I agree. I don't think we'll see him in a Browns uniform again. Mikey wants to do a read, and then are we going to go right to the booing?
Yeah,
the
unless anyone has
cheering.
any thoughts on the injury itself. I just wanted to make sure we address
Now,
that.
what else is there to say?
Yeah,
about
I
the
mean, it's
injury?
Okay, then
unfortunate,
let's
terrible.
do a read, and then before we get into our thoughts on how the fans handled it, we're going to play some sound bites from players in the locker room in the immediate aftermath
Good idea.
to give us the juxtaposition and lead us off in our conversation. But first, before we do that, today's show is sponsored by BetterHelp. October is the season for wearing masks and costume, but some of us feel like we wear a mask and hide more often than we want to at work, in social settings, around family. Therapy can help you learn to accept all parts of yourself so you can take off the mask, because masks should not be for Halloween fun, not just our emotions. If you're thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Take off the mask with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOn today to get 10% off your first month. That is BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOn. I mentioned we have 3 sound bites to play, one from Greg Newsome, one from Jameis Winston, and one from Myles Garrett on the aftermath of how fans handled the situation regarding the Deshaun Watson injury. First up, this is Greg Newsome.
Oh yeah, no, that was yeah, I noticed it right away. I mean, no matter what you feel about a player, performance wise or not, you don't boo a guy that's down, that can't get up by himself. So yeah, that was so any fan that said anything is that simple. You don't do that. Like I said, whether the guy's playing well or not, whether you're a fan favorite, whether you're anything, you don't boo a guy that's sitting down. So yeah, that's.
So that was Greg Newsome. Here's Myles Garrett addressing the fans afterwards at his post-game press conference yesterday.
It was harder with the reaction that the fans gave. Whether it's an opponent that goes down or one of our own, we don't boo. We don't boo the guys that are injured on the field, especially, with the extent when the card comes out. We should be ashamed of ourselves, as Browns and as fans to boo anyone and their downfall. Could be season-altering, career-altering injury. Man, it's not perfect. He doesn't need to be. None of us are expected to be perfect. Can't judge him for what he does, off the field or on the field, because I can't throw stones from my glass house. But we need to do better. We need to do better on the football field, and we need to do better as fans for having some empathy for a man who's doing the best he can and did the best he can up to this point. We have to be better.
That was Myles Garrett. And last but not least, here's Jameis Winston on the fan reaction.
I'm grateful that I had a chance to serve Deshaun, but I am very upset with the reaction to a man that has had the world against him for the past 4 years, and he put his body and life on the line for this city every single day, regardless of your perception, regardless of what you thought should happen with him. He committed every single day that I've been here to be the best that he can be for this team. And I know I come from the deep South, Birmingham, Alabama, Bessemer, Alabama. So I know the standard that hungry fans want. But the way I was raised, I will never pull on a man when he's down. But I will be the person to lift him up. And that all of us have unique experiences. All of us have circumstances, conditions, and facts that we face every single day. And I pride myself in being a man of increase and being a man that wants the best out of everybody. I tell myself every morning what I want for myself, I want for everyone. And I do not want the treatment that Deshaun Watson has received from these passionate fans. I know you love this game. When I first got here, I knew these were some amazing fans. But Deshaun was treated badly.
Those were 3 players. Other players also spoke out against the cheers, booing, whatever the phrase you want to use in the aftermath of the Deshaun injury. G, I want to start with you. Right move, wrong move, what was your overall reaction to how Browns fans handled the situation when Deshaun got hurt, and then how that applies to how the Browns players reacted in their post-game media.
Well, listen, if you were in that locker room and you're Browns players, players reached out and they said, listen, you guys want us to be a team. You guys want us to have each other's back. And in the locker room, we got each other's back. And you got to understand from the perspective of a player is, if you look at Myles Garrett and you look at, all these other players on the field, when they hear that type of stuff, they think, well, what makes me any different? I'm no different. If I'm laying on the field and my career is on the line, y'all might boo me. And so we got to understand, like, either we're going to want the guys to be all in this kumbaya, we got each other's back, we're family, all that good stuff. You should expect them to act a certain way when that happens. And from the fans' perspective, fans are frustrated. They get mad, they're upset. You're 1-6, they talk about Super Bowls. Some people paid a lot of money to come there. So when it comes to booing, fans are going to do that. That's just part of the game, you know what I mean? That's just is what it is. However, for me, my personal stance is I'm not going to boo somebody after they had an injury. Like, that's what it is. And the thing about we got to understand about this, and we talk about the fractured fan base, is this ain't the first time this done happened. It's not the first time this done happened. Like, we could go back and we talk to Tim Couch all the time.
That's the one I
was texting with Tim this morning.
See what I'm saying? Tim Couch, Derek Anderson. Here's the point that Browns fans got to take accountability for. You may say you booed because Deshaun Watson was not playing well. You say he was not doing what he needed to do. You could say it was the allegations. You could say he was a predator or whatever the case may be. But what was your excuse when Tim Couch got booed? What was the excuse? It wasn't none. He was the first overall draft pick. He had a terrible offensive line, and he got the brakes beat off of him. To this day, you ask Tim Couch, that still stands with him. Ask Derek Anderson. That still sticks with him. On Twitter, when Odell Beckham Jr. tore his ACL in Cincinnati, players brought this up. I forgot about it. He said, we didn't like when people said good riddance, great. We're happy that he's out for the season. Maybe Baker will throw the ball to other people. The players in the locker room have not forgotten any of that. And it goes to the level of where somebody asks, and I was listening to Carmen Lima, and people was talking about, is it the fans versus, fans versus the players? And I don't think it's the fans versus the players, but what I do, for the fans that wasn't booing, I got a question though. Like, for the fans that wasn't booing, and, that wasn't what you was doing, and you had a little tact to yourself, even though you might have wanted Deshaun Watson to come out of the game. My question is, when the players attack the fans, not even attack, when they defend themselves and go and say, those people that were booing, they shouldn't have did that. Why are the other fans coming to their defense? I don't have to come to the defense of fans that do things that are inappropriate. And it comes to my main thesis statement. Nowadays, sports has become almost like a religion. It's a loyalty test. Either you're all 100% in on everything that we do as a mob, or you're out. We're excommunicating you. And there's no commentary on the people who do certain things as in the fringes of your group. We can do both things, people. We can all say that Deshaun Watson was playing bad. I said it. And trust me, people think that this is, and I know the undertones, people think this is a racial thing, right? But I talked to Earl before the show, and I talked to Earl off the show. When us as black people criticize Deshaun Watson, we get that. We get that brunt. We got people saying you're a turncoat, you're Uncle Tom, you done turned on Deshaun, what you doing? But then when we say he plays well, or we bring up some certain other things, we got another group of people saying, oh, you're playing a race card, you're carrying water for Deshaun Watson, so you do it. You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. So the thought process for me is, I like to live in a place where we support the guys that put the uniform on. I don't got to see eye to eye with you. I mean, we may not have the same ideology, but at that moment, when a person is down, I choose not to take that certain road and say, you know what? I didn't want you to be quarterback, so I'm going to cheer for that. And it's okay for you to be a Browns fan to say that was distasteful and that was something that we shouldn't have done. So, I don't want to overblow it to a point and make it seem like every 80% of the Browns fans feel like that, or you don't have the right to boo somebody that's playing bad on the field. But at some point, why is it looked at as a negative when you just want simple civility? Like we all adults, man. Like we all got jobs. We all I don't want to teach my children to do things like that. Like we can agree to disagree without taking victory laps at another person's demise. So that's just all I'm saying. And we've done it multiple times, not with just Deshaun Watson, but we've done it to Baker. We've done it to these other people. And at some point, we have to take accountability for the things that we do as a fan base as well.
Not all fans, and that's what bothers me. It wasn't everybody in the stadium. I've talked to people that were in the stadium, and they said that it was there were pockets. And you know, if you were there, you know, if you cheered, that a man was laying on the field completely broken with an injury that might likely end his passion. If you cheered that, you know it, and you have to shave in the morning and you have to look in the mirror. You have to live with that. That crosses a line of human civility. You used that word earlier. What are we? Really? If you want to boo a man's play and his performance, you have free license to do that. You pay hard-earned money to go to watch a game, and when they put crap on the field, your only recourse, your only outlet is to be vocal about that. But when a man is lying on a field with an injury and you cheer that, that is on you, and that crosses a line of fandom. Unfortunately, all of the Cleveland fans this morning that weren't involved in that are answering for the fans that were. And that's unfortunate because I don't like answering for that. There is no answer. I had a Philly fan text me and he said, "This is what we do. I didn't know Cleveland did that." And we do have a history of it, probably a history that we know more about than the national fan base and the national media. I don't think it has anything to do with race. I agree with you. Derek Anderson was white. Baker Mayfield was white. Tim Couch was white. That if the quarterback was purple and he won, we would cheer him and love him like no other. If he was purple and he played awful, he would hear the wrath of the fans just the same. I do think that the vast majority of fans at the game yesterday did not do that. Mm-hmm. You've been there on the field. Mm-hmm. We've all been in the stadium when an injury, a serious injury occurs to a player where the cart comes out. Mm-hmm. There is a hush that comes across the stadium. Mm-hmm. That vacuum, that silence, that hush was filled with the few pockets of fans that thought it would be cool to cheer. Mm-hmm. And then I believe a sort of mob mentality kicks in.
That's right. Yep, I agree.
You see the guy next to you,
I agree,
and he starts cheering, and you're like, yeah, what he said. And then the next thing you know, you've got this little groundswell of poor fan behavior. I don't think it speaks to who we are as a whole. I don't. And I'll argue that with anybody, from New York to Philly to Boston to any passionate fan base. That is not who we are as a whole.
I agree.
And I also believe, like most human beings on the planet, we are intrinsically good, capable of doing bad things. Mm-hmm. I think that's the same for a fan base. We are an intrinsically good fan base that loves to support our team. Go around the league, not yesterday's incident, but go around the league and ask fans in other NFL cities, what do you think of Browns fans? They're going to say, man, they're passionate. They're loyal. They are there for 0-16. They'll throw you a parade. That's who we are. There is a negative sliver that we had to deal with yesterday. I just dismiss that cannot define us. It will not define us. It should not define us because that's not who we are.
Go ahead, Jason. I'll back clean up.
I certainly, I'm with you guys. I don't agree that you should boo a guy when he's down. Obviously, I can't believe we have to say that, but we'll say that. At the same time, I'm not going to legislate fans and tell them what to do. Like, that's on you. If that's how you choose to do it, then that's on you. You want to set jerseys on fire, set jerseys on fire. You want to boo, boo. You want to cheer an injury, it's not something I particularly would do.
Right.
But I do also acknowledge that this is a really complicated issue. This is not a normal situation. Mm-hmm. A lot of people didn't want this guy here in the first place, and we all know why. And there's a lot of allegations that go into it, and they're gross and they're uncomfortable. And the fans didn't ask for this. Like, there's a lot of fans who were perfectly happy with Baker, and they were happy with where the team was. And they had this dumped on them. And they've had to reckon with that for the last however many number of years. And in that moment yesterday, a lot of, maybe some of the people that cheered would say today they probably didn't, but they got caught up in the emotion of the moment. They probably should. I don't know. I can't speak for them. It was very hard to hear in the press box. I told you guys that in the text chain. I think Tom Withers even tweeted that yesterday.
Yeah.
It's so sealed in there, you can't really hear. And you heard it was like sort of a roar when he went down, but I took it more as oh my God, but whatever. I understand the nuance of this issue. It's when you think about all the allegations and you think about the women, it complicates things. It doesn't excuse the cheering. I don't condone that. And I understand where the players are coming from too. I totally get where the players are coming from. Gee, you're right. That could be them. I've talked to a bunch of players who when a guy goes down. When Nick went down last year in Pittsburgh, guys were devastated because they love Nick, and also they're thinking that could be me laying there, and that's real. And as fans sort of dehumanize players because they don't know them. These players know them. They go to battle with them, and no, Deshaun hasn't played well. And I've talked to plenty of people in the locker room who know he hasn't played well. I've also heard from guys who have told me even before the injury, I don't dislike him. He ain't playing well, but I don't dislike him. He's been a good teammate. He's cool with me. I'm cool with him. And so there's so many layers to this, and it's complicated. It's difficult. I don't think it was the right move to make. But if you're a fan who never wanted him here in the first place, and now you think this is the way out in that moment, I get it. So I don't know. It's probably not the great answer. It's probably not the politically correct answer. But I don't think that this is a clear issue one way or the other.
And I think, just to put on top of that, I think a lot of people, when they were cheering in that moment, you got to take it into context the whole week. People all around the league, people had seen enough. Everybody, every major pundit, every major person has said, I would bench Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
The team came out and said they were not going to do it. So when he gets hurt, to them, now it forces their hand. I get what I want. This is what we wanted to see. We wanted to see them move forward. In the moment, it's like your emotions you get caught up and you say, oh, they weren't going to take him out. They're going to put him. I bet you we'll see Jameis now. I bet you. And then what happens is, then they say, oh, he's really, really hurt.
Yeah.
Oh, he's hurt bad.
Yeah.
And then you kind of be like, ooh, I was kind of.
Well, when the cart was on the field, you know what it is.
Yeah.
You know. And they didn't have the benefit of looking at the replay. The second I saw it, and we all in our text chat were like, that's an Achilles. We know what that looks like.
Yeah.
Well, G and I have both torn our Achilles.
Yes.
So
so you've been through it.
Knew it for sure.
Real quick, before you go, I just want to add, fans cheer with few exceptions. Like superstar players, fans will cheer for that player no matter what team he goes to. By and large, fans cheer for their team. The players come and go. You're cheering for the team. And players, by the same aspect, that every city they go to, they're going to say, this is the best fan base. We have the best fan. They all say it. They don't mean it. They all say it. It's the right thing to say. It's a business for them. They go where the money is. They're going to come to Cleveland because that's where the money is. That's who's going to pay them. And the fans are going to cheer because you're wearing a Browns jersey. And if you don't play well, they're going to boo you. And they don't care. They don't care about you as a person. They care about what you can give your team, the team that they're cheering.
Unless you're Nick Chubb.
I said with
he's
few
the outlier.
exceptions. With few exceptions.
That's the cold hard facts.
And that's the reality. And the players are the same way. They're going to leave Cleveland and not think twice.
And then when they go to Kansas City, they're going to say, Kansas City clearly has the best fans in the NFL.
And by the way, even Nick Chubb, as much as he's loved, he could do things that could get fans to turn on him. 100%.
Or if they could get rid of Nick Chubb and get an elite quarterback tomorrow, they say trade Nick Chubb.
They burn LeBron's jersey, and the man is from here.
Listen, that's it. That's you said it. If LeBron got it, if people still to this day don't like LeBron, even though he came back,
they dismiss the fact he came back and won a championship.
It don't matter
because he left them.
Some.
But
there is that. There was one jersey that got caught getting burned on camera, and you know what the national perception of Cleveland was?
Yeah.
Yep.
You ingrateful.
But last thing before you go, last thing. I do think Myles went too far when he's calling him an upstanding citizen and he's a fine member of the community or whatever. It's like, all right, I'm with you up until then. Can we leave that part out of it?
Okay, so I'm glad you brought that up because I meant to say in my diatribe that
I have that soundbite too.
I thought that I loved what Jameis said and the tone in which he said it.
I thought he was going to pass the plates when he was done.
Well, that's his next profession, clearly.
Yeah.
The man can inspire and move people. He's emotional, and he can elicit emotion with his words. All that being said, I agree with you. I thought what Myles said was perfect, except for the upstanding citizen part. And also, we also have to keep in mind, these were all allegations. He settled 24 of them because he had the financial means to do it, and he wanted them to go away.
Jameis Winston also settled the rape allegation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Not brought up yet, but he too
Yeah.
was accused, falsely or not. We don't know, but he did the same thing.
Yeah.
So maybe he's walked in his shoes. He understands it. And we don't know. He and the women know exactly what happened. I will say this. I think the general perception from the public is that there is something that went on. If nothing went on and this man was the victim of extortion from a lawyer who organized a group of women, this might be one of the most unfortunate incidents I've ever seen a professional athlete have to go through. I don't have the answer to that, but if he was falsely accused of all of these things and just wrote checks because he had the money because he needed them to go away, that's what a tragic story. We're talking about a man's life here. All that being said, the thing that Jameis said that I disagreed with was he puts his life on the line
agree.
every single day.
Totally agree.
Military members in harm's way do that.
Yep.
Firefighters
Yep.
and police officers
Yep.
do that.
Yep.
If you're married to a firefighter and he goes to work or she goes to work, there is a real possibility in that job that he is not or she is not coming home. And they are not paid $230 million.
That's right.
So when he said he puts his life on the line for this city every day, that's a stretch.
But here's what I would say, guys, and I got a lot of thoughts as you guys have talked, so let me get to it. Number one, when I first heard the comments from Jameis, I'll just talk about Jameis and Myles, those two.
Bull, do you want me to play the soundbite that Myles said it?
Yeah, why don't you do that?
Yeah, okay, go
Just so
ahead.
everyone has the full context. Steve, this is the other Myles soundbite. This is 257. It's a minute long, and then Bull, the floor is all yours.
No one deserves that. I've seen him work his ass off to, get back here, and put a smile on his face, and try to put everything that's outside the facility behind him. Death threats, people come to his house, people, going after his family. Like I said, no one deserves that, and I hate using the word deserves. I'm usually pretty consistent saying earned. He hadn't earned it, and he doesn't deserve it. Man does pretty much everything right. He's been a model citizen through college and most of the pros. He plays the game as hard as anyone I've seen. Puts everything on the line, willing to throw his body out there, and he plays the game at 100 miles per hour, and there's a risk of being injured, and that he took that risk. But we have to be there for him as a team, as an organization. We can't look down on the guy because of any mistakes on the field or anything off the field. We don't have anything. We don't have any more high ground to look down on the guy.
So, my first reaction when I heard that from Myles Garrett and when I heard what Jameis Winston said, there was a part of me, I agreed with a lot of what both of them said. And then there was a part of me that was like, hey, you went too far here, Myles, or you went too far. Jameis, don't be being a little bit of a hypocrite. And then I thought about it a little more. And I realized that I'm not living their life. And I'm not in the same position that they are in. See, me personally, I don't think Deshaun Watson's innocent, but that's irrelevant to this conversation. Because we may think whatever we want as an outsider. Mm-hmm. They have a personal relationship with Deshaun Watson. So even if they say something that we, who are not part of the team, thinks is, oh, you're going a little too far with this, whether it's putting life on the line or model citizen, it's not going too far because they're emotional about their close friend. And so I understand what they're coming from. Even if I don't agree necessarily, it doesn't matter that I agree. All that matters is they are speaking from the heart. We always want players to be honest. Sometimes we criticize them when they're honest. These were guys speaking from their heart. They're not Myles Garrett and Jameis Winston when they're reacting to the injury and the aftermath of a guy that they're friends with, that they're very close with, they're not thinking about the accusations or how they believe or don't believe whatever happened. They're thinking their friend's career might be over. And that people were happy about that, or people have gone to his house or threatened his family. These are all awful things. And so I'm not going to hold them accountable for anything they say that even if I think it's a little too much. Because who cares? All right? When we, first of all, as crazy as this thing may be, because I get angry and I get fiery and I go too far sometimes. I've admitted that. And I am mad at myself when I do it. And I curse and I yell and I scream. I have never booed at the stadium. I don't believe in booing. Now, fans have the right to boo. You got, during the game, the team's playing like crap. You have the right to do whatever you want. I mean, not whatever you want, but in terms of booing, you can boo. I never saw the benefit of booing. How am I want my team to win.
You want to support them.
How am I helping my team win if I boo? To be happy about an injury for a player on, forget it. It doesn't matter if it's a player on, the Bengals had a guy carted off later. Nobody was cheering for that. So it doesn't matter if it's your team or not. It doesn't matter what the guy did, right? However you feel about anybody out there, whether they've been accused of whatever they've been accused of, in that moment it doesn't matter. Because if your excuse for being happy about Deshaun Watson getting hurt and cheering that or booing, whatever it is, if your excuse is, well, he's a bad guy, so it's okay. Well, where does that line end? Like, you debase yourself. Everybody that cheered for Deshaun Watson's injury, it doesn't matter what he did in that moment. Yes, it matters. If he did what he's accused of course it matters. And that makes him a bad person if it's true, and there should be consequences for that. Right. But in that moment, you debase yourself. You lower yourself. And this has become, between the political discourse in this country and between social media in this country, those two areas, so many of us have debased ourselves. We can't have, there's almost no civil conversations on these subjects. It's name-calling, it's lying, it's anger, it's cursing, it's being crappy to each other. This is not a Cleveland thing. The fans that did this stuff should be admonished. It was bad. I guarantee you, I can't guarantee. I'm pretty confident that if these exact same circumstances took place with any other football team, there would have been the same percentage, roughly,
I agree with that.
of fans booing. This is not about Cleveland fans being any worse than any other fan base.
I agree.
And I'm not being an apologist for Cleveland fans. It's the reality. This same thing would have happened if the circumstances were exactly the same in Pittsburgh, in New York, in Philly, in L.A., in Boston, whatever. Maybe there are some markets where the fans don't care. Maybe it wouldn't have been as emotional. But any fan base with caring fans, it would have been the same. And there would have been the same percentage of wrong fans. And those fans should be admonished. Not the whole fan base, but unfortunately, everybody here has to do that. And I agree with G's point. Just because you may not like Deshaun Watson, and I don't like Deshaun Watson, I'm going to be honest. I was excited about the trade. I was willing to look past some things, as I'm sure a lot of you were, because I thought he could play well. But I don't like the knowledge I have without knowing for sure. We all draw opinions. Fair or not, we do. And my opinion is he doesn't appear to be a good guy. I don't know that for certain. It's just a human nature to want to have an opinion. But that would never make me celebrate an injury. Ever. And so when you do that, you degrade yourself. And we've become such a culture across this country of degrading ourselves, of sinking to the lowest common denominator instead of working together. And that's why things are such a mess with politics, with sports. We're so crazed. We're so in our camps that we can't see when we're behaving in a gross manner. And I know my rant is not going to change any minds. I'm sure some people...
Oh, they're going crazy. You're preaching, bull.
Yeah.
Hey, take that preaching sermon somewhere else. You sound like Jameis Winston.
Yeah, I mean,
they're killing you right now.
But continue. Whatever. And you want to call me names and you want to call me fat, and I don't care. I've heard it all. I no longer care. It's just stop being disgusting. All of it. All of it. It's just gross. Our behavior is gross. And just because somebody else, I'm a little off track, but I just want to say this. Forget it. I'm not even going to say it. It's going too far. So that's it. I was going to go
Counseling
to
is
something else,
working.
but I
Counseling is there.
yeah.
You go.
It's
You
just-
pulled it back. You reeled it in.
Let's try. Whether you liked everything that Jameis said or not, there's one thing he said that he's 100% right about. And I don't remember the exact words, but it was basically like, let's pick each other up. If we disagree, even in politics, right? And I'm not getting into specifics of it, but I bet you if everybody knows that I lean liberal, okay? And I guarantee you, and I've done this.
No.
I met with.
You don't say.
I had lunch. I'll never forget it. I had lunch with a guy named Joe. Joe is a veteran, and he was a big fan of mine on the radio. And he was a very conservative Republican. And I said, Joe, you're a great guy. I know you think I'm a great guy. Let's go have lunch, and let's talk about, because we were angry. We were arguing about politics on Twitter. I'm like, this is stupid. Let's go have lunch and let's talk about it. And you know what? The truth was that on most issues, we agreed. We didn't know how to. Maybe we had disagreements on how to get there. And there was certainly some disagreements. There's always going to be. But there's more that we are. If you really have a frank conversation with somebody, there's more you're going to agree on. And it's okay to disagree and have a civil conversation. And maybe I'm a hypocrite because I do. I sometimes go too far. I admit that. And that's wrong. But we got to have some. I'm not threatening people. I'm not telling people to die because they vote for another political candidate or as they root for a different team. We got to be better than that, people. Please.
And that was sponsored by Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals. I think we could all agree on this, McNuggets. The Cleveland Browns are really bad. I think we can agree on that, right?
There is no doubt.
That was one of those when you find common ground in the fan base that they're bad. There's still division in the fan base because some of the fans will say it's Stefanski's fault. Some of the fans will say it's Barry's fault. Some of the fans will say it's Watson's fault. Like, we can't agree on one thing. We're bad.
We're going to find out.
I think, unfortunately, everybody's going to get cleaned out of here. It might have to be the way.
I had a friend ask me after the game, said, well, this is it, right? This triggers the rebuild. The rebuild is underway.
Oh, yeah.
It is. We are officially in rebuild overdrive mode. Now, the big question that we have is, what happens to Myles Garrett?
Is this a mini rebuild or a max rebuild?
This is and the reason it's a max rebuild is because we've been without a first-round draft pick for 3 years. Mm-hmm. And the draft picks we have had, we've pissed away.
Yeah.
So if you're, and I don't know if he's come to this realization yet or not, but he will, Jimmy Haslam, you can't keep marching to the same drummer. You can't. And you know who is beating the drum. Is it Paul DePodesta? Is it Andrew Berry? Whoever your point on the horizon guy is, needs to go. Period. Full stop.
Yeah, because you can't fire the owner.
Because Jimmy, and that's why
I don't know if, as you said about the poison soil. I hate to say this, but I don't know if it's ever going to be possible to completely turn around this organization.
I don't think it will,
Jimmy
as long as he's the owner.
Hideous owner.
Yes,
he's a criminal. He has made one bad decision after the next. He's despicable.
Here's the thing about land. Land is expensive, even if it's bad soil.
Yeah.
Yeah, but however,
hey, you go take that land.
Land on the lakefront is more expensive than land in Brook Park.
It is.
I really think that we are. I think the whole fan base has got to understand this, but they still, in our poll, they still said he's the best owner we have.
That's insane.
I think that would change now.
I agree. I agree. Yeah. It would, but it was mind-numbing to me that half of our audience said Jimmy's the best owner.
Yeah.
And then they split it between the two.
Put it up right now.
We're gonna do it right now.
Throw it up there. I'd love to see how that's changed.
We'll get to the results by the end of the show. We're gonna come back to the Browns in a sec, but we do got to talk a little bit about the Guardians. We're gonna talk Nick Chubb, DTR Winston. All of that coming up in a sec, but let's talk a little guards because that ALCS came to an end over the weekend in a heartbreaking fashion. Today's guards topic is brought to you by Hillsdale College. Time is our most precious commodity, so don't waste it scrolling through the same mind-numbing content for hours and hours. How can you spend it wisely to improve yourself? You can check out Hillsdale College, which is offering more than 40 free, that's right, free online courses, including Constitution 101, the marketing and history of the Constitution, Introduction to Free Market Economics, the Great American Story, A Land of Hope, and the Rise and Fall of the Roman Republic. All of Hillsdale's courses are self-paced, so you can start whenever and tune in wherever. Plus, you can go deeper with readings, quizzes, discussions, or just enjoy the lectures. Go right now to hillsdale.edu/lockedon to enroll. There's no cost, and it's easy to get started. That is hillsdale.edu/lockedon to register. hillsdale.edu/lockedon. The Guards lost in 5 games to the Yankees, the final 2 games of that series in Cleveland, both coming down to the wire. Jason, what was your big takeaway from these 5-game set? Well, all 3 games, but the last 2, we talked about game 3 on Friday at length. We didn't talk game 4 and 5 because it happened after our last show. But Jason, what was your big takeaway from the Guardians' 5-game series loss to the Yankees?
They're right there. They're really not that far away, and you can talk about payroll disparity and all of that, but the on-field product tells you that they were a couple plays away in pretty much every game, and those 3 games in Cleveland were phenomenal games, all of them. It decided in the late innings. You know, Brian Rocchio had a couple really critical errors late in the game that cost him a lot of runs. Clase wasn't Clase, although I thought it was encouraging for him in the final game to come back, and he looked like himself against Judge and Stanton and was hitting his spots with cutters. Got rid of the slider and basically threw all cutters to both of those guys.
And he should have.
And he should have. And he hit his spots, kept it out of the middle of the plate. And the Yankees don't miss mistakes, man. Like, there was a few pitches that they missed because, you know, I'm watching the pitch tracks as they go and seeing where they land. And there was a couple times where a pitcher would hang one and the guy missed. But it wasn't very often. And they hit really good pitches, too. The home run that Judge hit off Clase was a good pitch. Like, Clase hit a spot on the outside part of the plate, and Judge still hammered it into the seats. The pitch that Juan Soto hit out was a good pitch. There's not many guys who can take a fastball from that spot and hit it 405 feet to dead center field. But the Guardians are close. They're not that far away. The thing that I am concerned about, and this might be spinning it too far ahead for where you want to go with this, I am very worried about the starting pitching going forward. I don't know, where they're going to come up with enough arms. This team has never needed pitching. That's been the last thing they need because it's so expensive. They've geared the organization to always have pitching, and I'm very concerned about the starting pitching going forward, and the division's getting better and all that stuff. But from this series, I thought the Guardians, yes, the Yankees were the better team, but the Guardians hung with them pitch for pitch until the very end, and had they gotten a few more key hits from Jose, had Emmanuel pitched the way that we know he's capable of, had they gotten a little bit more out of Naylor, like I said, the Rocchio errors, 1 or 2 of those errors really cost them.
They were not going to turn a double play on that, by the way.
You don't think?
That was a huge mistake by him.
Big mistake, but
he took his eye off the ball.
You're absolutely right, but they get 1 out there. They don't get 2.
Right, but if they get the 1 out, then Soto never comes to the plate.
Well, no.
Yeah, because Soto hit the home run with 2 outs.
Yeah, so if he gets 1 out on that play,
right,
Torres then got out. That would have been the 3rd.
Yeah, but now we're assuming that things happen the same way.
You never
can't
know.
do that.
Yeah, that's fair.
No, I was just saying in theory.
Right, exactly.
Potentially.
What I'm saying is it doesn't get them out of that inning.
Can I say this?
No,
because they're not turning a double play.
But there's a decent chance they would have gotten out the inning without Soto coming to bat.
Right, and by the way, they were so great defensively up the middle. Like,
I'm not killing him.
You can't kill him.
Can I say this?
He was unbelievable defensively in this series.
For me,
I don't know.
I just think, man, it's frustrating because when I look at it, it's just me just looking at it just from 1,000 miles away. It just seems like, even when you watch that series, it seems like when you watch the Yankees, there's room for error. If they don't run the bases that well,
they run the bases like drunken sailors.
Right. Last team in Major League Baseball, by whatever metric they use for that.
If they don't handle defensively as well as some other teams, they have room for error based on what they got in that middle lineup.
Well, they made a mistake that led to our second run. An error.
Yeah. So my thing is, the Guardians, as constituted and the way they run their organization, the Guardians can't make mistakes.
Right.
All their hitters have to hit. Ramirez and Naylor have to hit. their bullpen has to be lights out. Clase can't mess up or whatever. You have to get good starting pitching from guys that either were out of the league or the DL, or you got them from somewhere else that really wasn't expecting.
Yeah.
For me, it's frustrating because I know that the Guardians gave everything they had. I can't sit here and say they didn't leave it on the field. They exhausted everything they had. They gave it, put it on the field. But if they would just get a little something, a little boost from the owner and give them, can you imagine if they had just one more big bat to go with
I'm
Naylor
glad
and
that's your
Ramirez?
point, because I agree with you, and this is from a former producer of mine, Mark Lowry, very, very smart baseball mind. I want to read this to you. This is his take on the game. Tonight, the Guardians did a great job containing the Yankees' $40 million player. But their $32 million player and their $31 million player hit home runs off our pitchers who make 2.5% of their salaries. I did the math. The Yanks paid tonight's pitchers over $32 million this year. I'd love to be their GM, who, by the way, is the worst in the history of baseball. Baseball is and always has been broken. I'm proud of the Guardians for making it to the ALCS and having 5 competitive games, which they did, against a team whose payroll is $203 million more than theirs.
Yeah, I don't agree with everything your friend said, but I think he makes some good points.
Let's go point by point.
Well,
I agree with everything. Baseball is broken.
I think Brian Cashman, say he's the worst GM ever. That's silly.
But when you look at what
trust
he
me,
has spent,
Jay,
you could say he's the Jimmy Haslam of the NFL.
No, that's not fair.
Look at the money they've spent since '09. What do they have?
You know as well as anybody that once you get to
baseball.
Once you get to the
I get
playoffs,
it, but
it's kind of random.
It is, but when you have a 15-year stretch of spending that every year, you've got to hit in one of those.
I have been, when I was working in New York even, I was always, while everybody else kissed Brian Cashman's ass, I was always critical of him. He is a highly overrated GM. To say he's the worst GM in baseball
that's hyperbole.
is silly.
We're arguing
doesn't
about
matter.
it, but he's not.
The point
He's
is,
spent
yes,
more than any GM in 15 years and hasn't won.
Here's the problem when it comes to, part of the problem when it comes to the baseball conversation, is that I feel like fans get mad at the Yankees and Dodgers and Red Sox and Mets.
I don't.
But you're right. But most fans,
I get mad at baseball for allowing it to happen.
I'm mad at baseball, but I'm mad at the law. The Dolan can spend more money.
Yes,
he is choosing.
He
not
can never
to
spend what they spend ever.
Nobody's saying that,
and he doesn't need to win. By the way,
the Yankees could spend another $100 million and would still be making money half.
Are they going to sign Soto?
Probably.
What's that going to cost? $750 million?
But here's the thing. You see, the Guardian. You talk about it like in this series. If you're a casual baseball fan, or if you're a Yankee fan that never watches the Guardians and you just watch this series, you're going to say, "Well, there's a big gap between these teams." And to me, there's not.
Oh, I don't think there is at all.
No, I don't think there.
Every single game was competitive. The Yankees knew they were in a series.
Jay, I'm telling you, Yankee fans that don't watch the Guardians, that are just Yankee fans, not diehard baseball.
Sure, they think they dumped us.
They think it's easy. I had Yankee fans in my chat when I was doing post game shows saying you play in an easy division. Like they don't know.
That's
they don't know what's going on, right? So, but they are close. Yes, the payroll is a hindrance, but if they just raise the payroll $150 million,
that's all I'm asking.
I couldn't agree more with you.
Yes,
I couldn't agree more with you. I am not a Dolan apologist by any stretch of the imagination, but I will say this: we are geographically hindered.
Agreed.
And it's the only sport, really. You could argue that in the NBA there is a geographic advantage because guys want to play in Miami and they want to live in certain locales and they don't want to live in northern cold cities. I get that.
Yeah.
But you're not playing the games outside. What is wrong with baseball is that, and I don't know if you guys caught this, in the 5th or 6th inning of Game 5, baseball ran the wrong promotional series.
I saw that.
Did you catch it?
Yeah, the Yankees-Dodgers.
The game wasn't over. That promo was built and ready to go on the last out.
Yeah.
Here we go. And you really couldn't even run it because the Mets
Dodgers didn't lose till Sunday.
Exactly.
Didn't win till Sunday, excuse me.
This promotion was made to run the last out of the LCS, the last LCS playing was made, and it was indeed the Yankees and the Dodgers. Do you think they made a promo for the Mets Guardians?
No.
I bet they didn't. I bet they didn't.
Yeah.
Now, I have a little insight because I've worked inside that division and I know how it works. And trust me when I tell you, to a man and woman, everybody in the Fox baseball division was rooting for what we got.
Yeah.
And to a man, everybody involved in Major League Baseball got exactly
Which
what
I
they
understand.
wanted.
I get it.
That.
Yeah.
I get it. Now, I was trying to explain to a group of people yesterday why that's the case. Well, it's not like that in the NFL. In the NFL, the TV money is national. The ratings are going to be what they are because the product is just a better
in
product.
In every other sport, it's the market.
We just
100%.
We just told you the NFL is a religion.
That's why the
people are going to watch. It doesn't matter.
Yes,
they root for Green Bay to make it to the Super Bowl.
Yes.
They're the 70th market. They root for Green Bay,
right?
Because they do have a national following. On and on. My point in all of this is, baseball it's broken because it encourages the big markets to win because the World Series ratings sets the financial dollars for all 30 teams and that pot is split.
Right.
They do not want the small markets in because it could be a ratings disaster. It could. But Dolan is not completely off the hook. He can't spend what the Mets, Yankees, and Dodgers spend.
Right.
He never can. He never will. He can spend more than what he's spending. And that's where the blame is on him.
That's right.
This team did all it could. We've got two bats superstars. They both failed miserably in the 5-game series. That's baseball.
Yeah.
That can happen. But when, like he said, their $40 million player we contained. Their $32 million player and their $31 million player we did not.
Couldn't hand that for him.
So
couldn't hand that for it.
If you're the Guardians, and we said this all year, they're going to need another bigger bat. Now, look at the buttons that the front office put.
And they hit on Thomas.
Thomas came
they hit
in here.
on Cobb. They hit on Boyd. they hit on.
Listen. The front office hasn't been perfect.
But they hit on
No,
those
they
guys.
haven't been perfect, but Bull,
yeah.
they made 2 moves before the break. 3, really.
Yeah.
And they all hit.
They all were contributors
Yes.
in the series. Right. Now, where the owner needs to step forward and the owner needs to say, you'd have to have a triumvirate of bats. So there are no holes in the lineup. I'm watching the game as if I'm pitching. How am I throwing this guy? How am I throwing this guy? Who do I avoid? With the Yankees, you can't work around him. You can't work around him.
Torres
Rizzo comes in down at the bottom. Rizzo I knew was going to kill us. He did.
Right.
And so you've got 4 easy outs in our lineup most nights. The Yankees, even though they have easy outs in their lineup, they have behemoths in their lineup that will strangle the life out of you, and that's what they did.
It felt like every single time I was watching the broadcast, the announcer would be like, and we got Soto,
here he
Judge,
comes.
and Stan. I said they was just up.
Yeah.
Because
their lineup flips in a hurry.
Is they batting twice an inning?
It did feel like that.
He put on
And-
Judge's uniform.
I'm like, dang,
and their
bro.
others are better than the Guardians' others, and that's it. And you don't even have to spend crazy money.
No.
I was talking about this morning with Zach. You could trade for Brent Rooker of Oakland, right? This is the guy who's hit 30 home runs 2 years in a row.
Right.
This past year, he drove over 100 runs on the A's.
I know.
Okay?
He had a 933 OPS.
You could trade for him. You could trade for Garrett Crochet of the White Sox. Where are the White Sox going? They'll
Nowhere.
trade within the division. You give him a good enough deal. That guy's one of the... Now you got an ace.
Yeah.
Okay? And I don't want to hear about Tanner Bybee being an ace. Let him be an ace. Fine, let's have 2 aces. Let's have 3 aces.
Right.
Then you can sign a free. They have to have a real right fielder. I know everybody's excited about John Kenzie. He's not an everyday player.
I agree with you.
I don't think he's going to be.
No, he's not.
And you know what? If he becomes good enough to be an everyday player, let that be a problem.
Sure, I would love
let
to have
that
that
be a
problem.
problem.
Can I say this? By the way, is it only me? The Royals and the Tigers ain't going nowhere.
No, they're not.
No.
They're not going anywhere.
No.
The Tigers, they got these young dudes and they got experience. These dudes, now think about it. What if they spend a little bit of money?
And Job is coming as an ace quality type pitcher.
Yeah, I could this offseason, without spending a crazy amount of money, I could sign Teoscar Hernandez to be my DH.
Right.
I could move Kyle Manzardo to first base. I move on from from Naylor. He's going to be gone at the end of the year anyway.
Next year.
At the end of next year. I trade for Brent Rooker. Well, I guess Teoscar is going to have to play the outfield, and Brent Rooker is going to be the DH. Whatever. I can live with a crappy outfielder if he can hit 35 freaking home runs.
Would you trade?
I could sign Freddie Garcia.
Would you trade
as a
Josh
free agent?
Naylor?
Yeah,
I would.
You're not going to get a lot for him. He's got 1 year left on his deal.
Yeah,
It's time for Kyle Manzardo to play first base.
I agree with that.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I don't know that they've got the prospect capital to get the guys you're talking about. There's other teams that have better that can outkick.
But
that.
that's a criticism of the front office. They've sat on their hands on these prospects for too long, and
they've
a
lost
lot of them
value.
have lost their
I
stature.
still think there's capital. There are teams that are better positioned with their minor league system, but I still think we've got names, we've got capital, we've got pieces we can move.
You trade Chase DeLauder?
Yes, I'm trading anybody.
Yes.
You trade Travis Bazzana?
No,
Jason,
no.
I'm just saying.
Anybody.
These are
If
the
I
guys.
get proven. I'm sick of hearing about prospects.
Yes,
I
hear
want
you.
proven players.
I'm with you, but I'm just saying, if you're trying to get Garrett Crochet, they're going to say Chase DeLauder and Travis Bazzana.
Done. Let's go.
Here's the deal: the Tigers and the Royals and 12 other teams are also going to be looking at these guys too.
That's right.
So you're going to have to. It's probably going to raise the price, but you've got to pay the price. And I know that we're talking about trades. I still think they have to go out, even though they've been burned the last couple of times they've done it. They need to hit the free agent
But
market.
they shop in the bargain bin. That's
not
why they
gonna
get
happen.
burned.
Well,
not
Lane
gonna
Thomas
happen.
was a hit. I know it was
No,
a
but
trade,
I'm saying
but
in free agency, it's almost always the bargain
they're not
bin.
going to be in the Soto sweepstakes.
Fine.
They're not. I mean,
go sign Corbin Burns.
I would
They're
be.
not gonna
I
do-
would
they're
love
not
that.
gonna do that.
They're not going to
No,
do
they're
that.
not.
They're
No,
gonna
but
do
you know
that.
that's even too high.
Some of these second-tier
He'll get $20
pitchers.
million a year.
Go
25
sign
million a
Freddie
year.
Garcia. He's a good, solid
when
pitcher.
Freddie or Frankie got away, the Guardians ownership said we're going to reinvest this money. We're going to put it back in the franchise.
Let me ask
They
you.
have not.
No.
If they had, if they still had Francisco Lindor, do they have a better chance of beating the Yankees?
Of course.
Yeah.
Better, yes.
And,
Yeah.
and really what it comes down, it's not, for me, it's not about going out and signing free agents, because I just don't think that's a world they're ever going to live in. Not the guys you're talking about. It's the ability to retain the guys that you do hit on and develop. They can't retain those. They're not retaining those guys. And then they sign Jimenez and he doesn't live up to the contract.
Yeah, that hurt.
Well, they and they
And Jose,
Well, they kept
I don't want
Jose,
Jose.
I mean-
Jose gave
because
back
only because he
tens of
took
millions.
I know he did.
Yeah.
I know he did, but that's-
apparently Bybee was willing to sign a pretty reasonable extension last year, according to Zach, and the Guardians wouldn't do it.
And see, with pitching,
Yeah.
I don't blame him.
The risk of-
I would not sign another pitcher to a long-term deal.
I mean,
I wouldn't.
They should have
look
signed
at what's
Steven
happened.
Kwan last year.
Look
Now-
what's happened.
Yeah.
With
They-
McKenzie, with Bieber.
Quan, they should have. Yeah, Quan's a guy that, and again, it's probably too late on him. He's going to he's headed arbitration now.
Yeah.
Tanner Bybee's going to arbitration.
Hold on. Hey, run that by y'all baseball dudes talking too fast. What's going on with Quan? What's the deal?
Well, he's got
Long term,
20.
he's probably
He's
not
going to
here.
start making more money now.
No,
Yep.
okay. How many more years he got on his deal?
3. He's got 3 years of arbitration coming.
Okay, well, I'll take 3 years.
Well, you're not going to have 3 years
But
because they'll.
here's the thing: we're too.
Oh,
I feel like we let the front office to some degree, mostly ownership, off the hook too easy by not demand. Like, I know if we demand they spend money, it's not going to do anything. But like, we're just like, well, they're not going to do it. So what are you going to do? You got to find another way. That's not acceptable.
I'm just living in reality.
Yeah.
I want them to do it, but they're not.
I had conversations with people about Teoscar, and it's when you like the miss on on Josh Bell, and then you have to eat some of that
And
money.
Zunino.
And the miss on Zunino, and then and the money.
Yeah.
Like if you cobble all those together, it gets you Teoscar Hernandez.
Right.
Yeah, I know.
But that's with hindsight being 2020, and when you're trying to chop it up here.
It's not hindsight being 2020. Teoscar Hernandez. Josh Bell's been up and down his whole career.
I know, but we were all excited when they
We
signed
were,
him.
because you thought he had a
and so
chance
were
to be
they,
good.
and he just flopped.
But Teoscar Hernandez has a good year every year.
But they had already lost the money on Bell. They were already out that
So
money.
what?
I'm just
I don't
saying.
care.
See, Bull, that's the difference, and that's
Yeah.
why baseball's broken. A team like the Guardians pay heavily for their mistakes. They can't buy their way out like the Yankees can. And the reason that I think Brian Cashman is looked at by some as the worst is because every mistake he's made, he just is given a bigger check by ownership to go make it right.
Agreed.
And
That's
we
true.
don't have that luxury. We're playing on a different field.
But we have more of a luxury than we do. There should be more of a luxury.
There should be, but Jason, I don't know what your thoughts are on this. We were talking about this last week, and Steve, our coordinating producer, sent an article that had the worth of the Dolans.
Yeah, I know that's
the mistake that people make is if they Google him and they see his worth is the price of the team.
Yeah.
That's not a liquid asset.
No.
This man is check to check.
They're attorneys.
They're attorneys.
Oh, stop. They're not regular attorneys. They've got plenty of money. They own a baseball team.
They made the money on the Cablevision stock, and that's
Yes,
how they bought the team.
and they bought the team.
Are
but
they
here's
not
the
making
difference.
money every year? Tons of money?
Bull, they
I
are.
already wrote the article about all the revenue streams that come into the team. And yes, I believe there's
They
more
are,
they could be
but Bull,
spending.
at the point that everybody thinks that they can say, "Whoa, look at he's worth $5 billion." No, he's not.
But I'm not looking
he's
at
not
that.
Dan Gilbert. He's not Jimmy
not, he
Haslam.
doesn't have a pile of money like our other two owners.
But you guys say that as if we're asking him to be those guys. I'm not.
Where's the money going to come from?
Where did the money come from for Matt Dolan doing 2 political campaigns? That's tons of money.
Who knows? I don't care about that. I care about
But
the
that's his
baseball
family.
team.
He could have spent that money on
Who
baseball.
cares? I mean, there's political action committees that raise money for candidates
I
and
actually
give
know how
them
much money they gave. I don't remember now off the top of my head, but we did look into that. How much money they gave.
It wasn't huge.
It's not.
No, and that's neither
So
here nor
you're
there.
saying they don't have enough money to raise the payroll?
No, we both said that they should.
They should, but what I'm saying is this ownership group is different than most. Most are independently wealthy without valuing in the value of the franchise they own. This group is worth what the team is worth. That only liquid if they sell it.
That's right.
So it's not where
true.
Dan Gilbert and Jimmy Haslam have a pile of money separate from their equity in the team.
So then sell the team.
Listen,
and they're in the process of it.
Thank you.
If you can't afford to be competitive financially,
and when
then
the
sell
Blitzer
the team.
group takes full ownership, the field changes dramatically.
They're in. They're not spending any money.
It may not change for the better. Like, be careful with that.
So here's my understanding of it. You can correct me if I'm wrong. When I say it changes dramatically, I mean the available funds to put together a team on the field. I think the more I'm hearing, I think the Blitzer group made a business decision because the landscape of sports ownership has changed in the last 10 years.
Absolutely.
We're seeing it here.
It's
not just the team. It's about the monopoly pieces on the board around Park Place.
Right. Yeah.
So the team is the centerpiece, but the team adds value if the land surrounding the stadium where 2 million fans congregated this year, you've got a 2 million person magnet sitting on East 9th, Carnegie, and Ontario.
Yep.
You're not monopolizing that if you don't own the adjacent land and you're not drawing money off of that. That's why Jimmy Haslam is moving. That's why the LA complex, and really Jimmy to an extent, but not as much. But what's going on in Atlanta and Las Vegas
Wrigley
and LA.
Field, they did the same thing.
Right.
Yeah.
So that is the new landscape of professional sports.
100%.
And so the Blitzer group is smart seeing, the sports team is the centerpiece, but there's a ton of money to be made around that. Now, I'm not sitting here and saying I can assure you that the Blitzer group is going to pour money into this payroll. I can't. All I can tell you is once they own the team, you're not digging through the couch cushions for nickels and quarters to put a team together. He is independently wealthy. He owns tons of things. If he wants to write checks to bring in Juan Soto, he can do that. Our owner can never do that.
Why-
And I'm not saying he will, Jason.
Why would he? If people go to the game.
Why would he?
Because here's the thing: the Guardians have shown you they can win with nothing. So they
can't. No.
They're their own worst enemy. If you don't,
They can be competitive, not win.
They haven't won anything.
No,
in
winning is
76
winning.
years.
What I'm saying, we think of winning. Businessmen think of winning and the money spent and the money taken out. The money being put into it is way less than what they're
You're right, but
out.
they could make a lot more money. I mean, there was a time, I know the Browns were, the Guardians have an opportunity right now. The Browns, people's feeling about the Browns is probably as low as it's been in a long time. I think even lower than the 0-16 debacle.
I'm in line with you, but I've said that to people and they're like, no way, you forgot the pain of 0-16. The difference is we expected something from this group.
Yes.
We traded for our franchise quarterback.
Can you imagine, people, it was the best attendance for the Guardians in 15 years, 17 years?
Going back, I think, to the early to mid
2006, wasn't it?
It's a good opportunity.
07 maybe?
Great opportunity.
If they spend some money and they bring in reinforcements, there will be First of all, part of the problem is, I was talking to Zach today. We were talking about, doing the Ultimate Guardian show during the offseason. And I was like, well, when they had, like, if we were doing the Ultimate Yankee show or the Ultimate Met show, there'd be news all the time.
Agree.
But, like, the Guardians create no buzz in the offseason because they never do anything or rarely do anything. And, and they have an opportunity. Like, I can't get into the Cavs right now. We will eventually, but I'm not excited to watch the Cavs play their first regular season game.
Real quick, Mike. I know Mike's trying to move on, but I have to get this in.
Yep, last point.
Not many owners reach into their own pockets to deficit spend. They don't. They spend
We've got
with the
two
team.
here that do.
Well, Dan Gilbert, I think it was $50 million he lost out of his own pocket the year of the championship.
Jimmy Haslam, too.
That's very rare. And Haslam...
I don't care. I give him no credit for that.
Okay, I'm just saying.
I'm just saying, too.
Okay, fine, but that's not the standard. The standard is what comes in is what goes out.
There you go.
I do think that
go.
there is more when Blitzer comes in. I do think there will be an opportunity to spend a little bit more because I do think that there's some coffers in there that are stuff that... But I also and I wrote about this, for all the criticisms of the Dolans, they still run the best team in town, period. There is
100%.
no debate. And it's because of the way they hire smart people and they get out of the way and they let them lead. Do you ever hear anyone make fun of the Ivy Leaguers that the Guardians have? No.
No, but they're killing the Browns Ivy Leaguers.
They kill them because the Browns don't win and the Guardians do.
You're right.
And when new ownership comes in, they may spend more money, but that doesn't mean that they will have the stability and the health within the organization that the Guardians do. So be careful what you wish for.
I agree with that.
Because you may get more money, but it may be Dan Gilbert type of money where everybody gets fired.
That's a good point.
And Jimmy Haslam money where
That's a
everybody
good
gets
point.
fired every 3
Now,
years.
That's a good
now,
point.
Money only gets you so far.
I
a good
will
point.
say the best thing about what's going on, and I happen to have some inside information on this, but the best thing about what's going on here is the transition period is a long one. The Blitzer Group gets more and more equity each year.
Right.
Here's why that's valuable. They're on board. By the way, they're in town for these games. They are in town for those games. They were there this weekend. They're seeing up front and in real time how this group works. They're smart, too.
Yeah.
They're very smart. I know that they're smart inside the Blitzer Group. If they're really smart, when they do take over, the only thing that's going to change is the size of the checkbook.
Leave everything else the same.
Leave everything else
Yeah,
the same.
I agree.
And even as players go, as personnel people come and go, as Antonetti may one day decide to retire, he will, or go to another team, he's got to be replaced. Find the guy most like him. And just, now it's plug and play.
Well, then
You
Mike
hope.
Chernoff just goes up another.
But it's very
Chernoff
rare.
does too, but somebody has to,
Yeah, sure.
It
And
feeds
they've
from
done
the
that
bottom.
already?
They've done it
yeah.
already.
And maybe they do that. But most owners buy the team
And then want to do it
to
their
play
way.
real life fantasy football or
Yeah.
real life fantasy baseball. They want to be involved. Jimmy Haslam's involved. Dan Gilbert pre-stroke
I
was
don't
involved.
believe
He's
that
getting
this
back
is.
involved.
I don't believe that. I
I
could
get
be
what you're
wrong.
saying.
I hope you're right.
Tell
I hope
And
you're
you're right. And-
Most owners want to
And
be
Dolan
very involved.
does a good job overall, but his lack of spending is a major negative against him.
It is.
There's no doubt.
It is. He's
There's
not
no
spending
defending
enough
that.
to get the team over the hump.
Yeah.
21, 23 payroll can get you into the dance. What it's proven is it can't get you to the top of the dance. Not
we'll
yet.
We'll look at some potential offseason moves throughout the next week as we put a bow tie on the 2024 Guardian season, which is both started this conversation with, was a success. We're going to get back to the Browns here. And a quick reminder that NFL fans can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. When you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, you live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed just by placing your first $5 bet. That's at FanDuel.com/UCSS. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. We have 20 minutes to get through 2.5 topics here, which is plenty of time, but we start with Nick Chubb, guys. He made his 2024 season debut, his first game in 398 days, scored a touchdown. G. Bush, thoughts on Nick Chubb, how he looked in his first game back in a Browns uniform?
I thought he looked like a player that's coming back from injury. I think the best play he made, real talk, was he made a tremendous block. Like, I think.
On the one that Watson almost got
Yeah,
sacked.
he almost got sacked.
Yeah.
Nick
That
Chubb,
was a great play.
Nick Chubb dives over the top and picks up the block. And I'm like, man, that first and foremost, for him to pick up that blitz recognition is I don't know how I think people understand how difficult that is. Especially that means you know the scheme, you know a bunch of stuff, you understand the protections, and the fact that he was able to chip that guy and Watson was able to get rid of the ball. But I just thought he looked like looked like a guy that's just getting his feet wet. But I definitely got chills when he scored that touchdown. One of the most bogus calls I've ever heard in my life.
That was crazy.
How you gonna call that?
It actually helped. It actually helped the Browns.
It did.
Right. It turned out to help because it killed more clock, but it was a terrible call. I don't know what the hell they were looking at.
But I just, I thought he was comfortable getting his feet wet, and besides, it's just crazy, man. I don't want to turn this. This was supposed to be about Nick Chubb
And
coming
we're an
back.
hour and a half of the show before
and we
even
even
comes
talked
up.
about the man,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
We didn't even say nothing like that. Without the rest of the stuff, it's a dichotomy of the best of times and the worst of times with the Browns. So we had the Deshaun Watson stuff, but then you had the mixed feelings because you got Nick Chubb coming back, and I just hoped, and I don't know if Kev is listening to me. Kev, look, man.
He's not, but go ahead.
Yeah, Kev, look, bro. Just go ahead and just get back to what you do, bro. Like, there's an opportunity here for the Browns to play decent football the rest of the season and go into the offseason with some hope of, hey, we played this well. What if we can get another quarterback? We played this well. Like, bring back some of that goodwill stuff. Like, hey, you don't have to run anything now. You got Chubb back. You could go dust off that playbook. You could go, look, this is what Bill Callahan was running, and go back to doing what you're doing, man. Like, get comfortable. This is a great time to reset in the building. Have a positive reset and say, look, that half that season is over, guys. I want y'all to fight these 10 games. This week 1 is week 1. And we're going to go and keep it moving. I think there's some opportunity to get some young guys playing. I think there's opportunity to get some mojo back, and I think there's opportunity that could be led with Nick Chubb and getting back to the way the Browns play football, and I think that'll help calm a lot of this extra stuff out here.
Real quick, Joel Bitonio never speaks out on officials. And Joel said the line judge was
I don't know
really
what the hell that
ticky-tack
call was.
with some of the, like, they had a ton of calls.
Yeah,
and Joel was kind of rolling his eyes.
that
Joel
one was
didn't say
particular.
anything.
Yeah.
And Joel was rolling his eyes at the line judge.
No, literally, it was like, does this dude
What happened?
Does he have a bet on this game?
I'm like, that was weird.
I've never even heard of an offsides on the offense. It's either a false start, like the fact he was lined up in the neutral
It
zone.
was ticky-tack, man.
I had to rewind. to make
Yeah,
sure
I
heard
think
it right.
he said it wrong.
I don't want to take the Browns off the hook for playing another sloppy game. They had 80 yards in penalties.
They had a ton of penalties.
I mean, every time you look around, flag. Usually on 1st and 10. Oh,
We'll
great. let's
dissect
start-
the game more tomorrow, by the way.
Yeah,
We're not absolving
right.
the Browns of how
Got
close
it.
they played.
As
Just
for
other
Nick
things.
Chubb, I think you said it best. He looks exactly like a player who's playing his first game after ACL. I think he had, was he like 12? Oh, there it is.
11 for
11
22.
carries for 22 yards. That's not Nick Chubb.
Longest run was 5 yards.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
not
he
Nick
didn't look
Chubb.
like himself.
No, I'm not going to sit here and kill him for it.
No.
I thought his presence on the field should have been worth a couple of points yesterday. In reality, this game was lost by special teams. That's it. Special teams, there was an 11-point swing in this game because of special teams.
I mean,
11.
You got Chubb
You
coming
lost by
back.
7.
Jay, you got Chubb coming back, and you give up a 100-yard return
To open it.
to open the game.
I'm like, this is the most Browns thing I've seen since last week.
This is crazy.
It's like
man.
every
Most
week.
Browns thing I've seen in 7 days.
They blow it up every week. Like, are you kidding me? That building was electrically charged.
I wouldn't go that far.
I don't know how it came across. I wasn't there. You were in the antiseptic press box, watching on TV,
a lot of
watching
empty
Nick's
seats.
introduction. No, I know. I get that. I don't blame the fans, by the way.
Yeah.
And I wonder how much of that was due to, like, the season's over, or how much of that was due to. I heard from fans said, I'm not going to go to any more Browns games because they're moving. Like, that's silly.
Oh, that's silly.
But I heard people say that.
It's more because
I think so too.
And
I
it
think
was a beautiful day weather-wise.
yeah,
It's
a lot to do.
that
wouldn't ruin your day.
I'm horrified to see what December is going to look like because October is
Oh
already.
my God! You're going to have $5 tickets.
It's
on
already
StubHub
empty.
again.
He's going to need. Remember when Mangini was coaching and they were terrible, and they got to the last 4 games of the year, I think, and they played. They played the Saints. They played the New England Patriots.
Yeah.
And Peyton Hillis ran crazy.
Yeah.
They were horrible that year. But people were interested in watching those games at the end of the year.
There's no reason to watch these.
But, well, here's the thing.
Maybe Nick Chubb.
He has to give them a reason. The Browns have to give them a
question is,
reason.
like, he looked, I guess, with Nick Chubb, I'm just always expecting more because it's Nick Chubb. And
Did he look tentative to you?
He just didn't look like a special back in that moment, which is normal because he's coming back from a devastating injury. Yeah. I guess there was part of me that just expected him to be superhuman his first game back, which was unfair of me. Now, part of it was the offensive line was not very good and whatever, but he clearly didn't look like himself. He'll get better as the season goes along, but
I mean, we've said
it was
all
cool
along,
to see him get in the end zone.
Nick Chubb may never be Nick Chubb. Like
yeah,
this is two,
and we're not going to write him off.
No, of course not.
Yeah.
I'm not ready to say that because of his first game back.
Yeah.
But this is 2 devastating knee injuries he's had. He's creeping up in age.
Yeah.
His best days may very well be behind him, but I'm not ready to go there yet. It's just worth acknowledging that that's a possibility.
I think the offense, what they're doing out of shotgun does not.
Well, I think that's gone.
That's gone.
I do too.
Yeah,
and Nick Chubb's better.
They can get back to. And by the way, there's a thing called the internet. All you got to do is say, "Give me 11 and 12 personnel." And I want every cut up that Bill Callahan ran. Let's get back to running.
Keep going because I saw them in 13 personnel yesterday. More than they have all year. And I know, I think Mike wants to do this a little bit later, but with DTR can run Kevin's system, and we saw it yesterday. Actually, Deshaun was under center more yesterday prior to the injury than I recall.
Yeah,
just off the eye test.
Right,
he was under center a lot. They got back to the play action game. 13 personnel, 3 tight ends. I think you're going to see more and more and more of that going forward.
And
the
we
rest
should.
Of the way. Yeah.
Jedrick Wills is.
Oh Lord,
he's horrible again.
By the way, we were playing guys at wide receiver yesterday because the guys we went out and made moves for apparently aren't even good enough to stay on the
it was
field.
A discipline
hey,
issue.
Cedric Tillman played well. I'll give him credit.
Yeah.
He had a good game.
Gee, give me a minute on Jed Wills. I'll do a read and we'll talk DTR.
Jed Wills.
Perfect lead up to that. You got a minute. The floor is yours. A minute on Jed Wills.
I know y'all seen the meme. I know y'all seen it.
When he threw his hand, when he let the guy, and then like
he laid, and then he was like, "What?"
That's
his career in the nutshell.
If it wasn't for the quarterback getting blasted and potentially taking bodily harm, it would be funny. But this is a sad. By the way, when you perform that poorly, that is a reflection on an offensive line coach. Because what that shows me, and is what I've been saying from Jump Street, is these guys don't know what they're doing. They don't know their assignments. They don't have a concrete Bible that says, do this on this play. If A happens, you do B. If B happens, you do C. Like, he's seriously up there with no clue who to block. And
the thing is, though, there was only one guy
there. It was one dude. and if you're, and I don't understand how that could be like your response. In high school, you couldn't do this, man. Like if you did this in college, you would be sat down and never play again. But the point I'm looking at is like, it's so funny. It's a meme. And Kevin, you gotta be on these dudes with this, man. You can't have that type of stuff. That look bad on your coaching staff. That look like you ain't coaching. It looks like you don't know the fundamentals of the game, man. It's just crazy.
He got mad over a penalty yesterday, which first time I've seen that.
I don't understand. See, and this is why referees don't give Browns the benefit of the doubt. They already know you guys are self-checked. The Browns are self-checked. The penalties here, the offsides here. Jed Wills is a top 10 pick, bull.
Not top. Was he top 10?
Yeah,
10. You're right.
10th.
You're right. Wow.
It
sucks.
I don't like, you guys know I try and be pretty realistic, and I don't speak in hyperbole. This is not hyperbole. They may need 4 to 5 new offensive linemen next year.
Well, not just offensive
No, that's not
linemen.
hyperbole.
Honestly.
No, think about
they
it.
may
That-
all be gone.
Well, let me ask you, forget just the offensive line.
And by the way, that
They
takes
may need
usually
8 to 9 offensive
4 to 5
starters.
years to
Guys, wait a second.
Hey, go ahead.
Think about the offense as a whole. Let's try to be unemotional about it if possible.
Yeah.
All right.
How many guys on this current offense do you think are, and not just doing it because they have nobody else,
Right.
but are legitimate starters in 2025 in the NFL?
David Njoku.
2.
Correct.
And Jerry Jeudy, and that's it.
Well,
I don't even know about Jerry
Are we
Jeudy.
doing skill position or everybody?
Everything,
Everybody.
the whole offense.
Joe Bitonio. Joe's still a starter. I don't know if he wants to live through another where this is headed. He may just retire. I don't know.
I think he lost a step, but he would probably start
He's still
for
a
more
starter.
team.
I think Joel Bitonio, Wyatt Teller,
They're still
David
starters.
Njoku, hopefully Nick Chubb, but we don't know that yet. And Jerry Jeudy as a number 2 receiver,
Yes.
Not as a
not
one.
a number
Yes.
1.
No way.
Yes.
Are starters. That's
Yes.
5 guys.
That's it.
That's 5, and that's if Nick Chubb is able to come back.
It doesn't include the quarterback.
Posick. Okay, all right, Posick.
And then the most important person is the quarterback.
Right. You absolutely need a quarterback. You need to totally revamp tackle. They don't have one tackle for
You
next
need
year.
right or left tackle.
They have no wide receivers. Now listen, maybe again, Cedric
Jeez.
Tillman, I know it's easy to roll our eyes on it. I thought he played well yesterday. Maybe that's a sign of things to come. He's got the rest of the year to prove himself.
Someone's got to catch passes
But-
now. Amari's gone.
Yeah.
I mean, they have to go to someone.
But you obviously need more receivers. You obviously need tackles, and you need a quarterback. They got a lot to do on offense.
Did you guys see any of the Kareem Hunt stuff yesterday?
No.
What'd he do?
He's a good short yardage back. Really good short yardage.
I think he had over 100 yards combined. A couple touchdowns.
Boy.
If you need 2, he'll get you 3.
Hey,
if you need 4, he'll get you 3.
Darren sends
get you
me.
3.
Who do we have on our team that
Darren
does that now?
Smith sends me messages every week talking about Jason. He say, Jason, tell Jason Lloyd. My
He
man
had
Kareem-
80 he had
my man
83
Kareem help.
He's still washed, guys. Like I said,
Hey.
if you need 2, he'll get you 3.
Clip it.
If you need 4, he'll get you 3.
Do you have his numbers?
What his
He
numbers
had
look like?
83 total yards on 24 touches.
Yeah,
Average
that's not
3.4
great.
yards
He had
per
2
touch.
touchdowns. Listen,
Listen, we
here's-
need a guy like that.
here's
Every
the-
team does.
We
Here's
got
the
Deontay
problem.
Foreman.
Here's the problem on this situation.
I don't know.
Is that Jay and Jason have screwed up this whole Kareem Hunt thing. Because Jay, for the last year, has highly overrated Kareem Hunt.
No,
and
I haven't.
In my opinion. I'm giving you my opinion. I think you've overrated him.
And then I'll tell you what
and
my opinion
Jason
of
has
it is.
gone too far.
I said he's on 3 wheels. He is.
He's
Yeah,
gone
he
too
is.
far. You just said he was washed, which means he's useless.
I said he's
not
on. I said all last year he's on 3 wheels. That's what I said. That's what I said. He is.
He is a good number 2
You can get
running
3 yards
back.
on 3
Hey,
wheels. It's a yard a wheel.
He is a good number 2 running back. That's what he is.
And McNuggets, it don't do you no good when you trot Deontay Foreman out on kickoff return. Why is he on kickoff return?
Well, we're going to do a whole special thing
Why?
tomorrow because that was a debacle. But we got to talk about DTR's performance when he came in for Deshaun Watson. We'll do that after a quick word from BetterHelp. October is the season for wearing masks and costume, but some of us feel like we wear a mask and hide more often than we want to at work, in social settings, around our families. Therapies can help you learn to accept all parts of yourself so you can take off the mask, because masks should be for Halloween fun, not for our emotions. If you're thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Take off the mask with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/lockedon today to get 10% off your first month. That is BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. So DTR was QB2 in this game. He got activated over Jameis Winston. According to Jason, he didn't find out till late in the week that he was going to be quarterback 2. Guys, what'd you see from DTR in his pretty decent amount of action coming in for Deshaun in the second and
Nothing.
playing until
He
he
was
got
awful.
saw nothing. He ran scout team all week. What'd you expect?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to hold it against him. He was awful.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't play much worse than he did.
No,
His
he's
throws were
terrible.
horrible.
Right.
He made a couple of nice runs, but he got tattooed on that one run.
That man got to go to the crash.
Well, what is he doing?
He's
He
gotta
weighs like
keep his-
150 pounds.
Keep your feet on the ground, young
bro.
man. First
Come
of
on.
all, keep your feet
Please.
on
Oh,
the
my
ground.
God. I don't even know who hit him on that play,
That's
but-
like the big concern with him is he can't stay healthy.
No.
He had the concussion last year, came back from that, took 5 snaps in garbage time against Houston when
Yeah.
Flacco won them game, the Christmas Eve game.
Ankle.
He took 5 snaps and dislocated his hip.
Yeah.
And then he plays yesterday and he busts up his finger, his middle. I better be careful. His middle finger.
We're going to talk about it more tomorrow, but Jay and Jason are not going to be here tomorrow, so I think you guys should make your opinion on DTR versus Winston.
Is he the dude?
Well, here's the thing. What's the objective?
I mean, to me, the objective is to see if DTR can be a starter. I
That's
doubt
the
he can
answer.
be, so.
Like, if you want to win games,
Yeah.
I think Jameis Winston.
Sure.
But if you have to figure out now, the last 10 games of the season, this is what it's about. Who's
Jason.
any good?
Who you playing, Winston or?
Oh, it's no
DTR.
It's DTR all the
Yeah.
way.
It has
Because
to be.
Number one, you have to figure out the odds are he's not an NFL starter, right? The
I
odds
agree
are,
with that.
Right.
but
Let's find out.
I thought he was decent at times last year. I've said it 100 times. Tyvis and I both said Well, he thought something was there in the Denver game. He was starting to figure it out, and then he got the concussion and he went away. The big concern is the injuries. If he can't stay on the field, then he's not the guy.
He also is interception prone.
Right. We'll talk a lot more about this tomorrow.
I play DTR because either you find out he is the guy going forward, or you're so bad that you're in position to go get the guy.
Let me ask you this, guys. Why did DTR not even know he was going to be the backup?
I don't know. I asked the same thing.
There?
I asked the same thing.
This is twice with DTR.
It's fine if they don't tell us.
Yeah, but he should know. He should
that's
know.
crazy.
I was told they went out, so they go through they do their walkthrough on Saturday.
Yeah.
So they go through for the Saturday walkthrough, and Deshaun goes out for short yardage, and the players were looking around like they had no idea. They didn't even know, and because Deshaun has never been the short yardage quarterback, it was always Jameis. But the coaching
He
staff
ran a sneak yesterday.
Yeah, he
Shocking.
did. The coaching staff knew that Jameis was going to be down and DTR was going to be up, so Deshaun was going to have to do the short yardage.
Like
but the
bullshit.
players didn't even know.
Why is that a trade secret
I
inside
don't-
the organization?
I don't know.
Did you
I
guys
don't know.
see last night? Did you see the conversation in the Sunday night game about Friday practices? I wanted to ask you about that.
I did not see that.
They had a conversation about Friday practices, about how the league in general just kind of mails it in on Friday, except for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And Collinsworth and Mike Tirico had a fascinating conversation in which they were talking about a conversation they had with Tomlin about that. And Tomlin said to them, look, it's a day of practice. It might be the most important day of practice. And they legendarily have 2 to 3 hour grind sessions on Friday. And Tirico asked, do you think that costs you free agents? And I love Tomlin's answer. Absolutely it costs us free agents. It's known league-wide what we do here on Fridays. And I think Collinsworth then said, well, doesn't that hurt you? And he says, no.
They don't want those guys.
I don't want those guys.
Right. Yeah.
The guys that are afraid to come here because they're afraid to work on Fridays, stay where you are. And go to Cleveland.
Yeah, he's
to
right.
To that point,
How do they practice on
He didn't
Fridays?
say go to Cleveland.
No, of course not.
That's your bitterness.
That's
right
my
there.
bitterness.
I've had conversations with
know
Zach
me well,
Jackson
Bill.
about this, and Zach said this training camp, Zach watched every minute, and there was no day that he missed because he said eventually they're going to have to actually practice, they're going to have to actually work, and it never happened.
I heard that too.
He said it was the lightest, easiest
I heard that too.
camp in preseason
I
he's
heard
ever
that.
seen.
And
Because
look what you got.
And look what you
Boy.
got.
Yeah.
But eventually, because he was like, there's always a day or two where he misses because he said, I couldn't miss one day because I needed to be there when they actually practice because Zach loves watching training
real
camp practices, and they never did it.
And listen, I was critical about the way they play their players in the preseason.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if organizationally, somebody in the organization decided that, look, you're killing your guys in camp, you're killing your guys in preseason games. Let's just ease into the season, and you get what you get.
But to your point, I was told that they have really intensified the last couple of weeks.
It's too late.
I know.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying that they did mix things up in terms of operations, in terms of intensity. Wednesdays particularly became a harder practice day than it had
But
been
Jason,
in the past.
if they don't do it in training camp next year,
you're setting a mindset.
And this is
That's
this
what
is
Pittsburgh
where
does.
Listen, Jay, we've argued over analytics, and I like using analytics to make smart decisions.
I agree.
But I think this is an area where the nerds have screwed up, and I'm pro nerd, 100%. But I believe this is an area where the nerds, because there's become so much concern about injury. And look, in baseball, we baby these guys. More injuries than ever. The Browns, softest camp. More injury. Who's had more injuries than the Browns the last 2 years?
I can't think of anybody.
And there's got to be something to that.
You're right.
You're
right.
You need a sharp football guy that ain't gonna play no games. You need one of them dudes that's not gonna, because what you will get is you get guys like Jed Wills standing up doing this.
That's right. And I think that's a big reason. And why the Detroit Lions,
I was
franchise
just
like the
gonna mention
Browns. The Browns, they were the Browns of the NFC.
Yep.
They have a coach. He's all in on analytics, Dan Campbell. All
He is.
in.
But he's also in on
But he's a
passion and fire.
badass.
Yes.
But he's also a badass tough guy.
Yep.
And that's what you need. You need the badass football tough guy who also believes in making smart decisions
Detroit got it
based
right,
on analytics.
and we're
they
1-6.
nailed it. They have a good GM. Their coach is great. And they've been one of the best teams in football. We'll see if they win a Super Bowl.
Here's how you know you got a problem when people don't respect what you're talking about. When you got a guy like Amari Cooper that played for Nick Saban, and Nick Saban said, Amari Cooper, out of 3 years he was here, he was never in my office. I never even had a conversation with him. He avoided me like the plague, and he understood he did everything right. He was never in trouble, went to every practice, worked his tail off. When you get a guy like Nick Saban who says that about Amari Cooper, and then you get Amari Cooper who for the first time in his whole life, he's saying, I wouldn't mind getting traded. His body language looks completely different, and he eventually moves on. When he's doing that, what is everybody else doing then?
Good seed, bad soil.
Did you guys see the replay of his touchdown with Buffalo?
Yeah.
Yes.
He didn't know the play.
Yeah, I didn't know what was going on.
Had a great week. Doesn't even know the playbook. Scored a touchdown.
I mean, look at Josh Allen. That for
The
all
way you look down to the left, it looked like you was hurt.
for all the
If you can't tell,
It was like,
bro,
dang.
I'm crushed.
Had a great week.
for all the
Touchdown.
people.
I said Friday, I go, man, there's so many things that could happen this weekend. We've got 3 massive games. We could go 2-1. We could go 1-2. We could go 3-0.
That's
We
wild.
went 0-3.
No, they won one. Guardians
In my
won one.
mind, we went 0-3.
It didn't let him down. You
Because-
did.
Jason, it was 0-3.
You know,
It was 0-3. Friday Guardians lost. Saturday
Oh,
Guardians
that's right.
lost.
Yeah,
They won-
and listen,
they won Thursday.
and listen, I've never done this before. I couldn't go to Game 5.
I was
Didn't
looking
go.
for you on TV.
Didn't
I
go.
can't-
My wife was like, what? I go, I've been to too many funerals.
You know what's funny?
I'm not going because I know what's going to happen.
My
And
nep-
when you know what's going to happen in sports, there's no
Yeah.
reason to watch.
My nephew had tickets to 3, 4, and 5. He went to 3 and 4, and he texted me and said, "I don't have the heart. I can't do it." So I
No.
bought the tickets off him and sent my boys. So
Good for you.
Alex
You
and
know.
AJ went to the funeral for Game 5 together.
I just couldn't do it. I can't.
I was at Game 4, Jay, and
I was at 4. 4 was.
yeah, and I was sitting in the upper deck, met some really cool people up there. The emotional and physical toll playoff baseball takes on you,
listen,
especially in a
nothing
game
better.
like
I
that
got
where
home
it
at
went back
1:30
and
because
forth.
of the traffic. I felt like I just fought Mike Tyson and Muhammad Ali back to back.
I parked here and I just walked up to the stadium. That's what you should have done.
I did too.
Hey, guys.
It took
I
you
did
that
too.
long to get out of here?
Yes, I got to leave Cleveland.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
It was
I just walked home.
it was a mess. It was
You live 2
gridlock.
minutes away,
Hey,
Mike.
I got home at 4 a.m. I don't want to hear it.
And you know what's crazy?
Gee, last point, then we got super chat.
I actually think that played a role in what happened at Brown Stadium. Like, I think people in Cleveland was just
They're already bummed out.
they
Yeah,
was
I think it had something to do with the attendance.
It-
I can't go to another funeral.
I think it was the attendance, it was the booing, it was everything encompassed in one. You like, damn, Ohio State didn't even win last week. They lost to Oregon. You like this
and
is
we didn't have a chance to wipe that out of our mouth because they're behind.
like, so everybody you knew died.
And my fall ball league championship.
That's right.
We
Throw
lost.
that on to
Cap it all
the
off.
plane
Bulls
went
fall.
down.
Real quick before you do super chats, Bull said about what was I going to say? Something that you said.
Little League,
Oh, you
no,
guys did lose.
about
Lions, Dan Campbell.
no,
Analytics.
it's gone.
I'll
It's
do
gone.
super chats.
Okay.
you
Yeah,
think
if it
about
comes to me,
and
I'll
at the end
hit
of
it.
super chats.
But I wanted to circle back on it because
All right.
I thought, yeah, that's exactly the way.
At the end of super chats, we'll give you the results of
All
the
right.
poll. By the way,
I'm dying
which
to know.
Has been up and has over 1,000 votes. This is a legitimate long sample
good sample
size.
size.
I'm going to say Dan
It is.
Gilbert gets the highest percentage.
Super Chat today brought to us by Hillsdale College. History, economics, the great works of literature, the meaning of the U.S. Constitution. Did you study those things in school? The answer is probably not. Or even if you did, maybe it's time for a refresher. Time and technology have changed a lot of things, but they have not changed the basic fundamental truths about the world and our place in it. Our sponsor, Hillsdale College, is offering more than 40 free, that's right, free online courses. All of Hillsdale's courses are self-paced, so you can start whenever, tune in wherever. Plus, you can go deeper with readings, quizzes, discussions, or simply just enjoy the lectures. Go right now to hillsdale.edu/lockedon to register. There's no cost, and it's easy to get started at hillsdale.edu/lockedon to register. hillsdale.edu/lockedon. Our first super chat comes from Nikitas Katsarakis, who says, management divided this fan base. Baker versus Watson, Brook Park versus downtown, Berry versus Dorsey. They had to have known Watson was going to get booed coming home, and he should have been benched. Instead, they tried to cover it up with Chubb's return and Flavor Flav.
Oh,
was
what
a
a fail that
disaster.
was.
Flav was hilarious.
Yeah, 0 for 4 this weekend. Do you guys agree with that necessarily, that it's the ownership's fault? I don't either.
I mean, the Baker Deshaun thing is. GMs get replaced all the time.
Yeah.
What do you mean? I mean, a lot of this is the owner's fault.
No, I
That
mean, he's talking
specific
specifically
argument.
about the fan division.
I don't
I think that happened
versus
organically.
I
We
don't-
did that to ourselves.
I don't think they came out and said, "Hey, you know what we really could do?
Let's split the fan base."
Let's get
No.
Deshaun Watson
But-
after Baker."
But
Yeah,
the
no.
Baker Deshaun is on.
Yes.
That is.
Yeah.
That's real.
That I agree with.
the other ones.
That I fully agree with, but
the
I
other
don't
ones,
think
no.
that they take blame for the fact that we are this divided. Because they were divided before Deshaun entered the picture. The fan base was divided on Baker.
Yeah, but they picked the most flammable object.
They certainly
Right,
did.
but
They-
wait, a biggest part of the reason that the fan base is divided is not because they traded for Watson. That's
No.
the excuse now. It's because Watson sucked.
Right.
Yes.
If Watson had been great, we
You wouldn't be able
very
to find
divided.
the people like me
And
that
nobody-
hated that
and
trade.
nobody
when
would
they
have
did it.
cheered yesterday.
Is
Nobody
there-
would have cheered.
Hey, by the way,
No.
the question is moving forward: is there a divide between Stefanski and Barry? Because y'all came in together, y'all said y'all was lockstep, but is
think
is
they're
there-
going-
Listen, at
is there a
this point,
possibility
I
one
think
can go with the
I
other?
think the ship is on fire, and then right now it's every rat for himself.
But-
That's what I feel
well,
like.
right now it's not.
Okay.
It may get to that, but right now it's not.
Yeah, no.
Well, that
I'm
we
just
know
saying they got it. That's why when y'all say it's not like it's nothing to watch for or play for. Oh, the hell there is.
Oh, there's drama.
Oh, listen, I wrote that today.
the hell there
Listen, you got 2.5 months to figure out who's getting fired and who's not coming
That's
back.
it.
That's
Yeah.
what you're playing for the next 2.5
right.
months.
Next super chat comes from Josh Z, who says the most disappointing thing is that we seem to use bad actions of other people as an excuse to sink to the same level. This is a world problem, not just a sports problem. Humans have to be better.
Yes.
Boom.
Smallville
like that.
says, correct yourself about Winston settling. He didn't settle. Technically, Florida State settled, not Jameis Winston, on the alleged rape, sexual assault case.
They
It
went
was
to the
Florida
deep
State.
pockets.
I think that he's right. There was a settlement there, but I'm thinking that the settlement that I remember was after he was with the Buccaneers. He was in the NFL, and I think there was a settlement against an alleged rape victim.
I don't know.
I
don't
could be
remember.
wrong.
Florida State settled the one. It was
I know Florida State
$950,000
settled the one
settlement. Yeah.
that was there, but I don't know about the other one.
Jeffrey Anderson says, I'm with Bull 100%. I never boo. It doesn't help the team win. Eric Holmes said, bad contract. Had him playing yesterday. I blame Andrew Berry. Jeffrey says, do we read political affiliations on here? Do we care? Can I read it?
Go ahead.
He says, Trump 2024. Sorry, Bull. Still love you.
That was kind of funny.
Oh, okay. For future reference, no, I wouldn't do that. When you said political affiliation, I thought you were going to say, "Hey, I'm a Republican," and
Right,
I.
that's what I thought.
No, I mean, that wasn't a political endorsement. No, let's never do that again.
Okay. Cavs fan
Snap
said
one in
the
on you.
cheers were not for Deshaun. It was more of an FU Haslam cheer.
By the way, Florida State settled the lawsuit, but Jameis also settled the lawsuit.
That was my
Yes.
recollection of it as
Yes.
well. That was the
Gotcha.
way I remembered it.
Says Hater says, all got to go. Stefanski, AB, just don't trust their player evaluations. Too far, too many misses. Likewise, Jason, who spent all last year telling us Kareem Hunt was finished and running on 3 wheels, laughing my butt off.
He is
with
running
the
on 3
two
wheels.
emojis.
To the first part of that comment, who wasn't mentioned in that comment?
Paulie D.
This guy
was there
freaking
yesterday.
Teflon.
He's always there.
Yeah.
No, he's there for the games.
He's always at the games.
But where does he live? Where does he stay? Where does he?
Oh,
San
La Jolla.
Diego.
He's in San Diego. Yeah. But the
I
idea
went
that
there
like
for vacation. It's a beautiful area.
But I saw on
Well, I'd
Twitter.
stay there if I
everyone's
go
making-
there. It was beautiful.
Everybody's making a big deal about the fact Paul DiBiadesto is at the game. He's at all the freaking games.
Yeah, he
It's
comes in.
I told my son, stop paying attention to the Twitter idiots.
Yeah,
Like,
that
you
doesn't make
can't pay any
sense.
attention.
However, it's funny that when the fan base is split on AB and Stefanski, you're missing the shiny object. If you want vitriol and you want blame, let's go to the chief strategy officer.
I need that tell
Let's start there.
I'd fire DePodesta and Berry, and I'd give Kevin Stefanski another season personally. But
I'm with you.
I
I
still-
agree with that.
Even when I say that, I'm like, yeah, but Jimmy's still going to screw it up somehow.
I got a
But
bunch more super
it
chats.
is what it is. But I'd
Stefanski's
stick
going to
with
end up in
Stefanski.
Philadelphia, so
Yeah.
none of this matters anyhow.
Vernell Jackson says we're just going to gloss over D-Hop's misses. We're going to
No.
do a special teams thing
We'll
tomorrow.
talk about
I
that
promise.
tomorrow.
He was terrible.
And he left the locker room early, which is embarrassing.
No, he came back.
Oh, he did?
He went back
It's
and
no
talked.
longer embarrassing.
Sly says Dustin
He's
Hopkins got
redeemed.
paid and then remembered he's actually not that good of a kicker.
Are they going to bring anybody in this week?
I don't know. We didn't get to that.
Hey,
That was 44 on
We
the
got
list.
three more. Hold on. Three more. Charles T said the Browns had training club and an actual country club.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's fact.
That's crazy.
Reggie
fact.
Bug Glover says, I think the elf at midfield is bad luck. We haven't been right since they painted it on. And Christian Story says, Jameis being QB3 last minute is the summary of our coaching staff and front office this year. Terrible decisions, no cohesiveness. We have a $10 million quarterback 3. And Ant, give me the results of the poll of the best
For the
current
record, they
owner
went to
in
Country
Cleveland.
Club last year and made the playoffs.
All right, with
Yeah. But that was
1,200
funny.
votes, Gilbert 59% for the best,
Told
Dolan
ya.
27%, and then Haslam down at the bottom with 14%.
Yeah,
There you
that's about
go.
what I expected.
That is closer to being right.
Yeah.
They still got the wrong one at the top.
Fans only look at the money because that's all, and I get
That's
that.
what you. That's
Yeah.
that's the only way a fan can judge
That's it. That's
Yeah.
the only negative about Dolan, but it's a glaring one.
And it's a fair one.
Yeah.
It is.
It's a fair
It is.
one
And
and a glaring
if
one.
that's
yeah.
why I would say, if you could combine our owners, Dolan's expertise and knowledge and willingness to stay out of the way, and either Gilbert or Haslam's checkbook,
Right.
You have a
we're the
super-
Yankees.
You have a super.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, Dan Gilbert bought all kind of latitude.
That's right.
He got the ring, and but here's what he did after he got the ring. He was like, get rid of Ty Lue, give me all these other. He made so many, but we didn't care at that point.
No, we
Whatever.
got the ring.
I got the ring now.
Totally screwed up the Kyrie Irving trade.
Yeah, we didn't care about
But
that.
he
Signed Kevin Love to a useless extension.
LeBron came back and said, "You have to write every check I tell you to write."
Yeah.
And Dan wrote every check he told him to write. To
Thank
his
you,
credit,
sir.
To his
May
credit.
I have another?
Yeah, to his credit.
got it
In
done.
overtime.
No overtime. We got to film the Jason and Jay thing. We'll see you tomorrow.
Oh, I'm out.